Nggak ada suaranya.
Priority for GAM finding their footing as the bot lane quickly gets locked in for BLG, the Jin and Alistair combination. So they have a decent amount of poke from their side. Their engage is mainly going to come from on the Alistair. They have a lot of disengage tools simply due to the fact that they have both Alistair and the Poppy, along with the zone control that Talia can provide. But I will say that this composition from BLG kind of has skirmishing elements, but it does kind of do a lot of different things, whereas GAM is very much in the direction of team fighting.
Yeah, very much so. And I mean, a lot of poke here, obviously. Varus plus Corki, really common combo with those double 80 carries, both able to poke down your opponents, drop the equalizer. You have the Maokai ultimate as well as the Nautilus to try to set them up for this team fight. So I do think it's going to be a lot about GAM getting to those objectives first, trying to force BLG to walk into them, poking them out, and making their job really, really difficult to find those engages. Whereas I think, you know, here for Knight on this Talia, if he can get pushed, he's going to be happy to try to attack those side lanes. Obviously, the skirmish power really high, like you were talking about. And Poppy Talia just always a really deadly combo because you can tackle just straight into the unraveled earth. You don't even need a wall to actually stun them up.
It's very true. We are getting ready to jump
Apa
into
nih?
our first game.
Lah, Knight dapat nidali.
It's going to be a crazy game one.
Lah.
GAM going for a very traditional front-to-back type of composition, which means that when it comes to the fights, that's what
Levi main tank udah kelar ini game 1 langsung kalah anjir.
The skill ceiling of these individuals is so high that you know that in every single fight, their ability to outplay is one of the things you always have to be scared of.
Non-subscribers, we will see you in 30 seconds, but absolutely agree, Vedius. It is going to be a really interesting game, number one. Time to set the tone for this best of 5. See if GAM can surprise some people, take a game, get competitive here with BLG, and really flip the expectations. We've already had our first series go all 5 games. It's time to find out if we can make 10 games the dream happen here on day 1.
I mean, you have to go back a few years, but Knight, he did have an unfortunate experience against GAM, the top esports versus GAM matchup during the group stages of Worlds. But of course, a lot has happened since then. BLG rising to prominence on the international stage, making a World Finals last year against T1. So close! A single game being the difference in that final game being so close. But
number 2 in Worlds.
But BLG,
kalau kalah sama GAM malu sih.
A little bit. They've gone through a bunch of iterations in that jungle role. Now they find themselves here at MSI with a lot of question marks surrounding them in terms of the
World Power number 3. Ini GAM. GAM kalau menang hebat sih.
Bit of early investment in the vision from
Hebat
both
sih GAM
sides.
kalau menang sih.
Gonna see what Levi is up to in the early game. But in terms of GAM, I expect the top side to be the priority in terms of their early ganks. As we were talking about, GAM do like to try and enable Kiaya on the top side of the map. But against Bin, I imagine that they really want to try and give Kiaya as many resources to set him up for success.
Absolutely. And to expectation is going to be Poke Varus. You can see he's playing with the Comet. Kiaya also electing to go for the Comet there as well. And it'll be interesting to see how Emo actually builds. We're talking a lot about builds earlier with Corki, but GAM, of course, here, you know, no stranger to the international stage. They are the 2nd seed for the LCP. This is their 4th MSI appearance. Levi, definitely one of the big standout players. If you've been watching international for a long time, you know this guy, you love this guy. Kiaya as well, really has been a mainstay and has been such a part of their success all over these years. And I mean, 9 international events, that tells the story. Pretty incredible track record for GAM across a lot of different years.
And we know that GAM shoulders a lot of responsibility as being a representative for Vietnam, and they shoulder that pressure themselves.
Vietnam.
They want to perform for their region. As
faster level 2 here. On is going to take a lot of damage before he actually gets level 2, and he just has to headbutt Artemis away there. Another hook is going to come in and does land on Artemis. Trying to turn this round, has a 4th shot, gets Artemis quite low. but still the health bars very heavily favoring Gam as BLG tried to fight for the level 2, but just kind of miscounted the minions and couldn't get there in time.
Some beautiful trading from the bot lane of Gam. I love that
great
aggression.
hook by Elio. On is trying to survive, will be able to do it as he procs the aftershock right before that piercing arrow came through, but down incredibly low, and topside looking spicy also, as Bin is going to be able to crash
Kiaya
this,
tuh
but
katanya
not
pertama
without
kali
taking quite a bit of
masuk
damage.
MSI ini ya.
And you can see that Levi is making his
First
way up
time
towards the top
MSI
side
appearance,
of the
right?
map. But an early
Kiaya.
base will come through from Bin, so he's going to respect the possibility of a
Good
gank.
for him, I
He's
guess.
setting his sights to hover around the bot side of the map is On, actually looking for a quick back.
On is going to stay, though. He elects to stay because Poppy is coming. So they're going to try to make a play very, very quickly here. Elk is trying to keep this wave from crashing, but Gam have no wards, and Beishuan is going to be behind
Wah,
them. They're about to
Poppy
get
lagi
the
yang
bad news here.
mati
Flash
udah itu.
combo from On, perfectly engaged. They're going for Elio. They flash
Dapat.
forward.
Wah,
Artemis trying to make
gila
a
Artemis.
first blood.
Wah, dua. Wah.
What the fuck? Double for Artemis, and it's Gam time already. But Beishuan looking to get him back. Flash to follow, gets a double.
Wah, gila.
Is able to trade evenly, but how about that? 2 for 2 and a 2v3 for the game.
Jir, aku harus lihat live chatnya nih. Wow, 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 wow.
They flash in to go for those kills.
Pagi banget live-nya. Iya. Soalnya live ini.
That draws first blood in the bot lane.
You have got to love that confidence. There was no fear at all. There's no hesitating. Should we flash back? Should we be running
Dapat
away?
dua anjir GG.
As you highlighted, On thinking about going back to base. They do tick over to level 3 for the Gam bot lane, but On with a great engage. Flash with the 2-man knocker. Beishuan arrives, but the flash in from Elio to connect the hook onto On. The Comet actually gets the kill, and then his W comes back up, meaning that he survives long enough for Artemis to get that second kill. Yes, the wave state is in a bit of an awkward spot, but it still ends up going underneath the tower, and you can see that excitement, that confidence already starting to build in the Gam bot lane.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's a small thing, but because On, when he flash comboed there, he stayed around for one auto before actually trying to back up. It gave Elio the time to get his passive route there, and now Levi is here. They're going to force the flash as that hook actually connected with the minion.
Artemis got
Elk, of course,
double kill
did not know
though.
that was about to
Shit,
happen and
that
had
was
to respect
good.
it. So either way, just calibrating down there.
I love the thumbs up from Elio. He knows that
Ya,
he's in
ini
the
hari
right
pertama.
now.
Hari pertama langsung dua match ya. Padat juga jadwalnya. Ini yang penonton di stadium pantatnya
Just look at the buy. Look at the bot lane. You have a call over here.
pegel
And
gak
then
sih?
tier double longsword is the buy when you go back because both of the kills went there to Artemis, and only the fact that Beishuan was
Aku
able to
juga
survive
ngantuk
saved
aja
that from being a
kegetaran ini.
disaster. He's on a triple longsword buy, so likely just going for it. Standard Sky, pretty standard stuff. Is going to be building aggressively himself, but it is going to be very tough now for Elkanon down in that bot lane where you're not going to be able to win all-ins, and if you can't look for all-ins, you're just going to slowly get poked out by Artemis.
A good little window utilized by Beishuan.
Tapi kalau nonton e-sport gitu kursinya ada nomornya gak sih? Takutnya kita tinggal kursinya didudukin orang aja. Gak ngajak orang lain. Siapa yang bisa aku ajakin nonton ya? Yang streamer juga.
I question some of these decisions sometimes, only because when you're in that winning state, you have to make that choice of do we want to try and move it around the map to then try and push it even further, or do we instead want to try and punish the bot side even more? And I think that they could have bullied Elkanon a little bit more, but instead they've chosen to prioritize the top side to get Elio and Levi grouping up and moving into the enemy jungle.
Definitely agree with you, but also a thing to note, because the wave that Elk based on was a pushing wave, it's heavily frozen towards the bot lane, and also
takut
top lane,
ngajaknya, circle-nya gede banget anjir.
So they have double frozen waves right now in top and bot. They are going to be able to deny, and now they elect to push it out, but they were able to deny all 3 of these melee minions. As you see, the last one is likely to die there. So they denied 3 minions on top side. They denied almost an entire wave from that wave that was pushing towards Kiaya, and he's going to have way more minions to farm. So I do like the thought process there from Gam, as Levi going to show up here and try to make sure that he is covering for any potential Beishuan action. And you can see that Beishuan has already been back to base. Not only is he up over 600 gold, he just spent, so he is massively stronger than Levi right now.
For sure. Keeping my eyes on Knight, as with the level 7, he does have the ulti available. Beishuan runs into Levi.
Yeah, Levi's going to go for it, and they're going to try to knock him back. Remember, no flash available here on Beishuan. He is running Artemis over the wall, looking to try to take him down. Will he be able to do it? On's in the midst of everyone.
Gak bisa kok. Itu Jin gak bisa kok dari situ. Wush, dapat. Yo, Gam is pretty solid though. Nice hook.
for it at the end of the day. Levi limping out of there, very
Worth
close
it,
fight,
worth it,
but
worth
is
it.
2 for 1 at GAM at the end of the day.
GAM are bringing the fight to BLG. They're moving into the enemy jungle. They are showing BLG that this side of the map belongs to them. And again,
Apakah
without
5
any
game
hesitation,
seperti
they
G2
force the fight
Furia?
in a 1v1.
Yeah, he is silencing Kaede, could be in trouble.
Kalau
Both
bisa
still
jangan
sitting on
lama-lama
their
sih,
ultimates.
pegal
We'll see if
aku.
Bin does look for that
4 game lah, 4
execution. The
game.
ulti gonna get dropped by Kaede just to clear out the wave. He wants nothing to do with Bin right now. It's going to go grab the honey fruit, and we'll be able to heal up quite a lot off of that.
Wow. But we take into consideration that the first 3 kills were secured by GAM, that Feat of Warfare achievement grabbed by them. First dragon in the map still up as well. But it seems that these grubs are
3-0 gas sih, aku seneng sih. Aku, tapi kalau 3-0 kagak seru, 4 lah, 4. Kuat lah 4.
Artemis moves up to force Knight out of the fight. A beautiful cleanse comes through from Elk to get him
5
away to
game
safety.
pegal
And
aku,
Knight thinking
Cok.
he can get 1 exit kill, ends up costing him his life. And giving that kill over to Emo just means that things just continue to go the way of GAM.
Yeah, absolutely. In that replay, BLG was able to get 2 of the grubs. You can see GAM does take 1 for their trouble, so at least you're not going to be giving the Void Might spawn away.
Gak menang
Elio
early ya,
and
nice,
Levi just
nice.
grouping up here, heading over
Gas
to
gak
look
sih,
for a
dive
on
bro.
Elk, where there is no cleanse available. He
Jin
doesn't have his
doang,
flash for another
elah.
couple seconds, and he is in
Kasih
so
Artemis.
much trouble. There is the hook,
Nice.
and there is the kill. It's another one in
Artemis
the
fat
pockets
banget,
of
bro.
Artemis. 4 kills in 9 minutes for the GAM bot laner.
It's a beautiful dive. No mistakes, well executed. There was little that Elk could do to respond.
Berarti kalau 5 game 2 jam setengah anjir.
Now, the gold lead not insurmountable. BLG still, of course, have ways to come back into this game, and Beishwan doing what he can to cross map, securing this dragon. Bin gonna be looking to get himself a
Tadi aja berapa jam tuh Jitu? Jam 2 mulai sampai jam 6, berarti berapa? 4 jam anjir. 4 jam 5 game, Cok.
I think it's a huge surprise.
It is great to see them playing like this. You know, it means we're in for a very exciting series, I think, here. As GAM, when they're on, they just really seem like they're on.
Tadi aku nonton, tapi di channel Kuro nontonnya.
They really do kind of play with vibes, man. Like they're one of these teams that really emphasizes that,
Gak tidur
that feeling
tadi.
of family and togetherness.
Tadi aku
and
nonton
that
juga di
the
channel Kuro,
one
kocak.
person is less important than the whole, and it's all about this philosophy that they have, that they take into their training, into their practice, into their gameplay. That really has netted them so much success. This trust that they have in each other's. And it can get them pretty far, and we'll see if it can get them a win here against BLG as they
Gak tahu itu
are
Jitu
to a
kenapa
slight
jadi
lead.
OP anjir game 5.
Is that when you watch the playoff run, sometimes they do just make bad
Game
decisions.
5 tiba-tiba
Sometimes they get
ngebantai,
individually
kocak.
outplayed, but this roster really does make magic happen at times. The way
Tapi
that they
lebih
find
ke
these incredible
ADC-nya Ayu
steals, the way
Abi
that
sih
they
tadi.
navigate certain
Ayu
fights,
tuh
like
dia
they're a
kan
team
mainnya
that
Sena
fully
sama
trusts in each other,
itu
and they
kan
do a really good job
Smolder
of
ya.
just committing to the play,
Senanya
picking
diambil
sides
sama
to make it.
Hansama.
That makes for some amazing
Jadi,
moments and is why they are
ya
named
udahlah.
MSI today. Now, of course,
Ayu kan
the goal
yang
lead
OP-nya tuh si
won a
ADC-nya
very
itu kan,
good start
si
to the
Ayu.
game.
Fur-fur
Puts them
tuh.
in a good positions, but we still got a lot of the
Ayunya
game left
jago,
to go
tapi
as
ADC-nya
Mohon
diambil sama
decide
Jitu.
for a fight.
Yeah, Kaede gonna sidestep the ulti there, and it's not gonna be a big deal. Like you said, it is 1K, but one thing I will say is it's 1K, and it's all on Artemis. This is that playoff run that you were talking about, Vidius.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very scary for them because they ended up losing to CFO in their first run, but then they were able to get that win over Team Secret. The win over Talon, I think, was the biggest surprise, especially the way in which they won it. And then pushing CFO all the way to 5 games was a really crazy run. And again, like some of the consensus I heard was that they're not even the second best team from the LCP. There were question marks, there were doubts that it was kind of a miracle that they made it here, but Game 1, they are looking impressive. Emo gets knocked up.
Oh, he does get knocked up, and he's going to have to flash to safety
Kenapa
there. So it
anjir?
looks like the Valkyrie even got interrupted. So as he comes out of that combo, just has to spend the summoner spell. Beishwan down towards the spot side, but Kaede, of course, did spot him in that dry brush, and Beishwan knows it, goes back and is able to clear that one out.
First items are starting to be completed across the board. The Heartsteel coming through from the Maokai, going for more of a defensive kind of frontline tanky build.
And I actually really like this because I do think when you are not solo AP, it's not worth it. There's the flash, and it's going to connect, and the change of corruption is there as well. GAM, it's surprise!
Game so strong, what the heck?
Take him down. Kaede gets the kill on Bin.
Bin was not expecting that at all.
Neither was I.
I mean, our observers were
Yo.
showing us Bin POV, and so we just saw the
What
fog
is
of war,
Chinese
and
cooking?
out of nowhere, GAM attack. The surprise collapse means that they find a big pick onto Bin, and now the advantages are starting to be...
Jump scare.
It's happening across the board, and that lead that Beijing had been able to build for himself early on because of those 2 early kills, that gap is starting to close. And meanwhile, for Artemis, a 1.4k gold lead for him.
Yeah, back to the Maokai point. To me, if you're not solo AP as Maokai, I think it is just wrong to go AP almost always. There's so much damage on this team. You have Kiaya on the Rumble, you have double AD carry. You just need to create space for them. You need to be able to peel. You need to be able to create that zone of control to buy the Corki and the Varus time to do their work. So I absolutely love that he is going to be going full tank here with that Heartsteel. Makes a lot of sense.
I also love this vision investment from Gam.
Tapi banyak yang nonton orang Indo pagi-pagi juga. Memang antusiasnya tinggi nih lo e-sport ya. Dan aku kalau tidur kebablasan tadi nonton G2. Kayaknya MSI setiap MSI kagak bakal bisa tidur normal nih.
Bin looking to try to get in range of Kiaya, but can't quite do it. This is going to be constantly trading back and forth here. Kiaya doing a good job spacing Bin, it seems like, when we're checking in for the most part, not allowing him to really get those good trades. And I mean, when you're playing against Mbessa, so much of these matchups is about forcing Mbessa to use the spells to close the gap, not allowing her to begin trades with those spells. As Kiaya again overheats, and this time Bin is going to be in a lot of trouble. The equalizer is ready. He just hit 11. I think Bin, it's time to get cooked.
Bin?
There's the equalizer, turns around with public execution, does proc the Eclipse Shield, trying to run for the hills.
What is Bin doing?
Not enough. Kiaya will not allow him to escape.
Kiaya gets a solo kill onto Bin. What a fantastic play, punishing the aggression from
Kiaya debut MSI-nya bagus ini aja. 2-0 against Bin, man. Second to world. Bro just debut on MSI. What a good day. Good day.
Emo avoids, and this is the thing, I feel like Gam is showing the utmost respect to BLG while still playing with nothing but confidence.
Absolutely, and you have to. You cannot disrespect Knight and Bin and Elkanon. These guys have been here so many times before, but there's a fight breaking out. Elio could be in trouble. The seismic jump does connect onto Levi, but he is tanky enough to survive. Bin arrives with a TP, so does Kiaya. Remember, Kiaya has no ultimate. Emo hitting on the side, trying to get them low. You can see the ultimate coming out from Jin as well. On flashes forward, there's the flash from Beishwan, sending Kiaya into the wall. He's overheated.
Langsung di saat down. Talia lagi yang dapat anjir. Fuck.
Take 3 kills and the dragon. The snap engage from BLG was ruthless. They isolate the support.
Kaede
they
make
sure that they have a numbers advantage. And as Gam is filtering in, they just pick them off one by one. You'll see Levi and Elio sitting in the river trying to contest some vision. The Talia ultimate comes through. Then they get split off. Artemis can't really offer anything. The Corki is still separated and the TP is late from Kiaya. Remember, no Rumble ultimate available. Then
dukung Gam sih aku. Tapi kayaknya kalah deh. BLG jago tuh.
Yeah, it's just being able to find these small windows, punishing your opponents. It was a great angle there from Knight. Comes over with the Weaver's Wall, able to section them off. And without Kiaya having the ulti, he couldn't really get much of anything done in that fight. So great punish there from BLG. They now
tapi G2 menang. Tadi aku dukung G2. G2 menang.
Seems like it may not be long for this world. He's trying to deny the feats of strength. They're both rushing for this first tower, which would get it for either team. Emo down here on the bot side, supported by Elio. It is important that they try to push for this.
Do have the numbers advantage from the bot side of the map. A hook is going to go wide for Elio. Another wave is coming through for Knight. He's very close to securing that tower.
Yeah, I mean, Levi's got to get up here. Otherwise, they're going to lose the tower, I think, on this wave. Kiaya needs help to defend it, but Knight is pushing forward. Kiaya trying to keep it alive. They are racing for it. Bin on the other side does pop the ulti.
Kalau di low PC pasti yang bikin Heartsteel jungle ya. Top lane malah jarang guys pakai Heartsteel ya kalau di pro scene. Double kill anjir.
Beautiful play from
Bin is online.
Leveraging the tower aggro to punish the 2v1 dive. BLG will also get the top tower, and very quickly the momentum is shifting. BLG finding plays
Kok
across the map,
malah
getting
double
a flash
kill,
from Kiaya on the top
kocak.
side, and Bin getting 2 kills in the 2 versus 1.
Kok bisa ya, bentar.
Yeah, that is just a
Itu
backbreaker. They're already
Nautilusnya
rushing
nahan
this first
damage.
tower.
And you can see
Kelamaan.
the tower
Korkinya
aggro
gak ada
is getting
damage,
onto
anjir.
Bin is gonna leverage that by
Itu
utilizing his
mukul
ultimate
turret
to keep
lama
him
banget.
underneath the tower. Once the hook comes through, it keeps him in tower range. Nice backstep from Bin
Jago
to create
banget,
that
anjir.
space between him and Emo.
Abis ulti langsung flash lagi dia. Dia soalnya dia tahu Korki bakal nge-kill dia kan. Jir.
I mean, that was just
Combo
so
ngeri
beautifully
gitu, Wak.
played. Small thing there. Bin goes for the backstep, pulling Emo away. So Elio had to walk further into tower range to get
nggak
the locket
sempet.
on him. He wasn't in locket range.
Nggak
so he
sempet
walked up to
mandi.
try to give that locket. That meant he got stuck
Ini aja
in
dari
that
jam 2
tower.
pagi
Additional
tadi
shot gets taken
turnamennya.
down. Bin pulls off the 1v2. As his W
Siang
goes back
kali
up, he has the
mandi ya.
shield, he has the Eclipse shield, he is just making it happen, man, and that is the thing about this guy.
Anime kagak mandi, kocak.
About an inconsistent year, but he is on fire so
Wangi
far.
lavender.
And now Artemis in a lot of trouble. Is going to flash out, but it is not going to get him anywhere. Elio could be next to fall. The equalizer is going to use from Kiaya, but not to much effect whatsoever. And
Emang sekarang weekend ya?
in the Herald, they're just going to let it crash into the tower. The tower is incredibly low. On is looking for the dive here. Emo trying to push them back, but they're really struggling to do so. Hook's going to go wide there from Elio. Now the ulti does come out, but Kiaya has already fallen. BLG are running away with it out of nowhere.
BLG do not hesitate to punish a mistake. The moment that you overstep, they capitalize and look, they're in
Obat
position
nyamuk
for
dong.
more.
Kan bukan
Knights
obat
trying to
nyamuk
hold off
doang,
the fort,
lavender.
spotted out, but this tower is surely going to fall, and BLG with the small
Asli.
advantage that they were able to find
Orang
in the
Jepang
earlier
malah enak
skirmishes,
ya.
they
Orang
are
Jepang
mounting a
yang pada
massive
restream
gold lead.
jam
3.3K
4
now
pagi
the
mereka.
advantage. A mid
Itu
tower
mah
secured,
normal,
just short of
anjir.
4K. And as we jump into the replay, an engage comes through from On. He knows he has the ultimate, but the quick collapse coming from Knight means that again, BLG guarantee themselves a numbers advantage. A 5 versus 3. Kiaya has no angle to get involved. Artemis has already lost his life. And then when they continue the siege, On is just saying, screw it, I'm just
Langsung
going to keep away
comeback
from the tower. Let's
BLG.
see if we can secure this objective. Kiaya steps up too far, and he gets punished by Knight. Great
Jawa
positioning,
Timur emang
great
beda
play
2
for BLG
jam.
as they mount firm control here in game 1.
And I mean, it feels like it was a minute ago we were talking about this race for first tower. BLG now took all of the outers there, as you can see in the Coinbase gold grind. This is all of the different sources that Knight has gotten
Anjay,
gold
Knight.
from. So you can see 1,100 of his
Look
gold
at those
from kills,
jawline though.
371 from minions, and
Sheesh.
so on. As there's been going in
Oh,
again, it's
kenal
going
loh.
to be another kill here.
Wah,
As Artemis,
kalah ini
great start, but he is
megam.
getting caught and he is getting punished once
No
again. No
objective.
flash, no chance.
BLG are just so effective
No tower.
at finding these small positioning mistakes and capitalizing so quickly. Knight's ability to collapse. He didn't use the ultimate this time, but we've seen it multiple times.
Oh, World di Cina ntar tahun
While it
ini.
might seem like that they're
Damn.
overgrouping, I feel like Gam is just being
Tebak-tebak
drawn
yang nyanyi
into the
siapa?
fight.
Yang nyanyi
Rather than
siapa
looking
tar?
for cross maps or looking for advantages elsewhere on the map,
Kataku Bibi
they're
no
just constantly
Money.
trying to trade with BLG, and BLG are getting the better of them. Now Knight once again throws the ulti
Bibi no
out
Money
to
yang
catch this
nyanyi nih.
mid-wave and look for a pick.
Yep, you are not allowed to trade. They're saying you cannot take that tower. Levi tried to get down there and see if he could fight over Otacon. Does proc the phase rush, but he's got no flash, and I think he's going to get chased down. There's the flash in from On. Bin and 3 members of BLG will knock down Levi once again. He wanted to get there, see if he can make a hero play at the Otacon, but he loses his life, and it's just going to be a dragon
Real
as
kah?
well off the
Ada
back
apa?
of that. As BLG are just taking everything. They're farming your jungle. They're defending their mid tower. They're
Berarti
taking
kalau di
Otacon,
Cina
killing
berarti
your jungler,
stadiumnya
and
yang
then getting the
gede itu
dragon.
dong.
It was a
Bukan.
promising start for Gam.
Yang
Some
ada Elder
really
Dragon
awesome
tuh.
plays from so many members, but BLG, they are the classic. You give them a finger and they'll take the whole arm. The moment that you give them a semblance
That's
of
just
an
greedy.
advantage, I know, right?
Langsung
But
beda 5K, wah,
and they
gapnya.
want the arm.
That's messed up.
And not only, they're beating you with the arm right now. They're taking absolutely
messed
everything.
up.
It's so messed up. But BLG find themselves with a 5K goal lead. Second items being completed across the board. And they're looking good. We wanted to see a statement game from BLG, and it was looking shaky within the first 10 minutes. But here we find ourselves 22 minutes in, and BLG are looking confident.
Yeah, I mean, Knight now well over 2,000 gold ahead of his counterpart here. He did go for the Mage Eyes, lost some stacks off of that, so it is a bit unfortunate, but he is, of course, on his 2 items, got the early Rylai's. And when you look over, you see all these melee champs on the other side. It's going to be very frustrating for them to be dealing with this. So it is going to be, I think, a tough ask for Kiaya, Levi, and the rest of GAM to try to come back here. you start feeling like it has to come down to picks. Find people in side lanes. Try to find odd number fights where you can find a 2v1
udah
or a 3v1 or
gitu
something
ya.
like that to try to even out the fight.
Keren
But
ada KDA.
BLG is just pushing this game forward so fast. I mean, you have 4
Betul itu
minutes
kenapa
until
ada ward
Ocean
di
Soul.
tengah dah.
Exactly. And I think that is another angle.
Loh.
Oh, Bin is gonna go in, but this
Oh,
time
Bin
Levi is
terlalu
behind him. Has Bin a bit more than he can chew. Levi
pede,
overheated,
Bin.
trying to get the damage down, and TP's even coming in as Peijuan's gonna arrive. So does
tapi
Helio.
ditolongin
Now
sama
the equalizer
Poppy.
well placed. It's gonna be flash out there from Bin. It's now Peijuan that is the target. He has a flash of his own, but not even gonna
Kalau
need to use it
sama
because
yang
the
tahun
reinforcements
2023
are
berarti yang
arriving. Elk is
itu
here,
yang
and
di
Knight
dalam
is positioning
ruangan
for
itu mah.
possible Weaver's wall here. He's in the banana brush, and here he goes. He's trying to section them off. Levi is going to get trapped, and Levi's got no flash. Stunned against the wall there by Peijuan. Going in for the re-engage as his team is
Ini tim siapa yang main kagak jadi jogging, Bang. Mending login lagi. Nobar BLG.
A very awkward fight for both sides there. I was expecting
KDA
BLG
berarti
to look
Mio
for a
nama
cross
Seon.
map, but there were only really tier 2 towers for them to play for, so instead Knight
Ya,
set his
hype
sights on
sih.
actually collapsing.
Apa
looking
KDA
to
lagi yang
convert
nyanyi
this
ya?
into more kills. I think Levi, once he was trapped, played that very well,
tapi KDA
utilizing the twisted advance to get out
KDA
of
mah
harm's way.
mereka
But
nyanyi word
ultimately,
gak
it
sih?
doesn't result in a huge
Skin doang kan
amount.
ya?
Summoner spells were burnt on the side of Elio, along with the flash being used by Beishuan and Bin. Those summoner spells could be crucial, but with the next objective still a minute away from the Baron, I think we're really setting our sights on that Dragon. Soul for BLG, 2.5 minutes away.
Itu gapnya udah 6.000 anjir. Kejadiannya begitu cepat, bro. Tadi early-nya udah enak loh. Artemis udah kebalap, goldnya anjir.
If you are a Pokemon and you're playing in Ocean Soul, things are tough. So
iya,
we'll
nanti aku nyanyi ini. Terima kasih, Pak
And there's just not really any wards in the area for Gam. You can see that Elio is trying to get over there and trying to reestablish some vision control. Bin here getting chased down by Kiaya. The rest of the team is coming in. We'll see if they can find him. Remember, he has no
Gragas KDA udah ada, udah rilis.
Public execution going to be used, and he is just trying to waste
Tinggal tunggu ke wild tree.
BLG on the other side of the map are looking for a play. They do get the shutdown, but again, it costs them the equalizer. That should be up though before the Dragon does spawn
kagak
here,
nyanyi
as
ya?
BLG looking to pressure some towers.
Good news is that the wave was quite far away, but Emo needs to be very careful. He's going to respect the collapse from Beishuan, and this tower is going to fall. I would say that the risk of using those ultimates is that will they be available for the next Dragon's fight? A minute and 20 seconds. I imagine that the equalizer
Bisa
will
jadi,
be up,
bisa
but
jadi.
it's going to be close on the Maokai
Nongol di
ultimate
opening
for
ya.
sure. Kiaya will secure his second. I mean, actually, he's still sitting on a decent amount of gold. He'll have to go back to base and spend what he can. The tower still standing, as BLG have done a great job of keeping all of these outer towers alive. But this Dragon, 1 minute away. This is going to be what I imagine the big deciding fight. If GAM can potentially find a turnaround fight, that's their avenue for a comeback. Or BLG, it could be the final
kenapa
nail
naruh
in the
ward di
coffin
tengah
for
ya?
securing game 1.
Absolutely agree. You know, when you're 5K up here, if you grab Soul on top of that, it just
Dua
feels like
tuh.
an insurmountable advantage. So Gam may get just that one more shot
What?
here to try to make something happen. Yeah, does go back to base, spends up that gold like you talked about, and does get the Seekers. So it is going to be something very important for this next fight. But it is going to be problematic that you can see third item is
Berarti kalau KDA comeback kagak ada Heartsteel dong.
You can see both of Banshee's Veil as well as the
Heartsteel
Blighting Jewel
kemana Heartsteel?
being built up for both of those there for Knight. So he's quite
Satu
strong here
sekali
as well.
doang Heartsteel.
And BLG looking to try to regain control over mid lane.
Find ourselves in a tense situation. GAM recognize that they need to gain some space, but their vision coverage is very limited. And Elk is doing a good job of controlling that mid wave.
Oh iya TP ya.
On
Oh, they are
threatening the
very
engage.
stacked as On's going to go in, and Ben is here to support. On in a lot of trouble, but he is
Terus
going to
mati
survive
tuh.
as he
On
flashes
nggak
out.
worth
And the
it sih
Nautilus
itu.
falls on the other side. Kiaya
Oh, Bin
running for the
miss ulti.
hills here. He's going to have to flash out that public
Sakit
execution,
banget.
but Kiaya
Oh,
just barely
wah
survives the
gila,
shot.
GG komunilah jinnya kayak gitu ya. Dikurungin anjir.
Looking for him. They do knock down a third member.
Oh gitu kombonya
from
nilah
Gam.
jin
It
ya.
feels like just like that, the fight is
Menjijikan
already
juga
done.
kombonya,
BLG
anjir.
crushed it. They take three.
Jin
They're gonna
buka
take the soul
ulti
to boot.
dikurung
It feels
sama
like it's too much
Talia,
of a
cok.
difference at this point. It was a straight
Oh, nilah
up
sih,
front to
Talia,
back
Talia.
end. That Maokai just melted. The fact that On was also able to get out of that situation, and then the rest of BLG chased down GAM.
Agak
A
menjijikan
very
juga
awkward
itu
situation for
kombonya.
GAM to find themselves in. They did not get the optimal setup, and they end up falling short.
Yeah, not going to be able to fight their way in. You know, they're trying to get through these chokes, trying to stay together so they don't get picked off. But the problem is,
Harusnya Pentakill bukannya udah 2 kali, lagunya ada 2.
So let's look at our MasterCard price this moment as it's Levi that gets engaged on initially. And that's
Enak banget anjir. Ini Jin mundur, buka ulti, Talia dikurung sama Talia. Anjing, pas garis gitu lagi. Tai banget anjir.
Oh, we're back to live. Elio tries to flash out, hooks to the wall, but he's just dead. And Beishwan wants even more. Nice positioning has been a thing of beauty. Every ult that you're talking about, Betty, seems to be perfectly placed. And now Kiaya in a world of hurt down here. Bin with the double buffs, with the Ocean Soul. He does not care about your poke any longer.
I mean, it really has been a beautiful game from
Aduh, 3-0 ini mah guys. I just don't see. I don't see game winning any BLG games for real.
Can they find a way in to try to seal away this Baron? Teleport coming out there from Kiaya, but here comes Knight one more time. Beishwan and Bin trying to push their way in. Artemis is left out to the Wolves, and he's going to get bit in half as Beishwan pushing back the jungler. He's 3 levels up. Emo's dead as well, as they're just trying to look to try to end the game right here, right now. They get a third.
Yeah, I don't see game win.
Now the wave is going to be coming in.
Even a single match today.
Try to close it out.
But I kind of want to see 4. I'm not complaining if they do 4 games, like give game 1 game, you know. I think they need at least 1 game to win. Why not?
We'll see if they can clear out the wave, find a miracle play, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Elio falling as well as Elk.
Masalahnya lepas Talia ke Knight sih ngeri banget ya.
It's 29 minutes into the game.
I don't know how Knight even get Talia, bro. That's bullshit. Oh my god.
Just to die one last time. It's an ace again for BLG as Emo's now respawning. They want another kill. Mercy cries Gam as BLG takes game number 1.
A convincing performance from BLG.
Billy Gaming.
The early game looked a little shaky. I loved the confidence from the Gam bot lane. The solo kill from Kiaya. Things were looking good, but it only took a single fight from BLG to close the gold gap and swing the momentum massively in their favor.
That's scary stuff, man. We have seen these kind of series so many times in the past where some of these underdog teams come out, they show their prowess, their individual skill in the lanes, but then when it becomes time to moving around the map, to setting up objectives, to moving as a unit,
tapi Ben Talia terakhir keluar.
Another level in this first game.
Yeah, they certainly did, and BLG
susah sih. Night champion poolnya kebanyakan.
Dominating game 1. We'll see if Gam can bounce back.
We will see BLG claim the first win of the series. Dracos, what you got back at the desk?
I'm going to be honest, mixed feelings, because for the first 5 minutes of that game, I was like, there's no way both series are
it's
like
happening
this.
again.
It's happening again. But BLG very quickly reminded us that not all teams are created equal, and not all teams fight as well as other teams. Those guys were monsters.
I was sweating, honestly, right? Because, like, Artemis was kind of the
Jaxma
major
permaben
upgrade I thought this roster made that Gam has been fielding.
Satu-satunya tim yang berhasil ngepantatin Jax-nya Bin cuma Zeus. Satu-satunya orang yang berhasil ngepantatin Jax-nya Bin Zeus doang.
The Rumble ult was down, right? Like, it had actually been used on Bin in the bot lane. So when this starts up, it's a really good example of why BLG wanted this Poppy to Leah combo so badly.
Yeah, and also just on top of the fact that Talia was able to make it there first, I think Gam just needs to be able to anticipate the play that he's going to be there first at all times. Like, he gets 2 crazy flicks. That was a great flick to be able to get Emo as well. So I thought it was a really good play overall from BLG. You mentioned it, that was really kind of broke open.
Doran nggak sih? Doran akan membantai Bin. We trust, bro, we trust.
Whenever it was up, guess who was getting sacrificed? It was Artemis.
Yeah, well, the thing for me is just Knight is a demon. And sometimes you forget, right? Because oftentimes we hold Knight to such a high standard that if he's not in contention for best mid laner in the world, people are like, that's not enough for him.
Yeah.
But you forget just how incredible this player can be in the clutch. And that was the first of many team fights. That single moment, it never felt like Gam had another chance to get back into the game. Even as we look at the game-winning fights, even as we look at the mid-game, their consistency here was incredible. Now, the lane phase is still shaky. There's still things you can throw criticism at, but across the board, the coordination here in these fights was excellent.
Yeah, as we see this game-winning fight come through, right? Like, they immediately get on to Artemis. At this point, they're so far ahead that it's going to be really difficult for Bin to not just be able to go in and get on these carries, but you really see how they wanted to play this composition out, especially when ahead.
Yeah, because the fact that if you look at this composition and you're Artemis and you have such a great lead, it's like maybe I've circumvented the entire problem. Like there's no threats from the Talia and even like Bin getting solo killed early, like maybe I'm fine.
Kemarin pas awalnya kalah sendirinya biasanya Zeus ikut gerombolan oleh Flash, sekarang dia sendirian yang kalah. Gantian lah. Awal tahun kan dia ke first 10. Saatnya T1 menikmati MSI.
And I do
Berarti
definitely
World
wanna
kagak menang
highlight
dong
the
T1
massive
kalau
gold
gantian.
shift that did happen, right? Because it's important to remember that GAM were actually up, I believe, 2.4k gold, right? So it's just this entire section of the game, and in particular,
Ini match
look
yang
at
kapan?
what
Oh,
happens with
AL.
these two top laners, right? This is where Bin really pulls ahead, even though it actually starts with him getting killed in the bot lane.
And unfortunately, I don't
AL.
think we're showing the correct gold graph currently. We got a little preview of
you
what's
did it
to
correctly.
come,
It just wasn't showing.
perhaps for AL and T1. But the big thing to highlight is this was not a game that started off super incredibly for BLG, but they found that single angle. It just continued to snowball. And I think the moment where we kind of came back to earth, other than the dragon moment, was when we were reminded not to test the Gigabin in our HyperX replay, because this is a guy who
Crack-Lord.
is gold even a
Jadi
concept
apa?
that he cares
Sekarang
about.
kita akan
I
memanggil
think
Doran
he's
Crack-Lord.
just outplaying like a madman.
Yeah, this 2v2 is
Julukannya
pretty
enggak
incredible
banget
because
ini.
at first it looked like he was just dead. The shield does eat it. He plays back. Like when he walks up first for the wave, then Ilio's like, okay, this should be a good dive for us. I'm gonna take turret aggro. Now Bin ultis.
Gila, ultinya ke Nautilus loh. Itu kalau aku pasti yang aku ulti Corki aja, terus dia nge-flash ke tembok.
Playmaker for them, right? So being able to keep it within turret range was massive. Bin turns it around super zero.
The W shield and the Eclipse shield. You're like, okay, my support's down. Maybe I can still kill him. Couldn't get the job done.
There's nothing that feels worse than seeing an enemy Ambessa come back to lane with Eclipse. You're like, ah, yes, I no longer get to deal damage. That appears to be the case. Here now we
Iya
have
jago. Kalau aku mah pasti yang ulti Corki aja. Terus Corkinya nge-flash kabur.
When we look ahead to game 2, how worried are you about that early game that we saw? Is this something that you think GAM can exploit and potentially bring home a game? What are you focusing on when it comes to that game 2? What are you guys keeping track of?
I'm a little more saddened because like I feel like that's the sucker punch you go for. Like you think you're coming in as the heavy favorites, and then once again BLG we're at the sleep at the wheel last MSI as well, and then they cleaned it up later on. I feel like they're going to be a lot more safer, and I'm going to be looking at GAM a little bit, and I'm just going to have one request: be more careful on the mid wave, please. I'm begging GAM. Just be a lot more careful on the mid wave. So that's going to be my message for them going into this one.
Hopefully there's less Talia in this game. Thank you, Fearless. But the mid wave it's a scary place, dark and full of terrors, most certainly. Emily, what do you
Iya, maksudnya Binnya jago gitu. Kepikiran ngincer Nautilusnya dulu. Kalau aku pasti yang ulti Corki aja. Tapi masalahnya Corki dia bisa ngedash keluar kan. Terus kagak mati dianya. Terus Binnya mati ditembak roket aja kalau Corki dulu. Bahkan dia habis nge-ulti Nautilus dia langsung nge-flash kan karena takut Corki. Habis ngulti Nautilus dia langsung nge-flash set.
I think the big thing they did want in this draft is the Talia Poppy. I think tunneling on certain things in draft has been a BLG special.
Itu ada Kimbang Kimpis
The
anjir.
big important thing going in for GAM is that they are on blue side.
Bang
so
Gian?
to see what they end up on.
Anjir, Bang Gian masuk GAM.
I actually thought their drafting in this first game was very solid.
What is Bang Gian doing over there?
It sounds like for the side of BLG and maybe being a little bit more careful around the mid wave for the side of GAM. There's a lot of dangerous players who can show up there. You gotta be careful about the risks you take. For now, though, we're gonna head to a quick break. When we return, game 2 coming up. We'll see if GAM can bounce back.
Let me throw it down to the ground, make them turn around. This is what I do. I'm a dog, not afraid to fight in the dark and light.
Yang rework aku belum nyoba. Tapi aku sempat main Ambessa Jungle beberapa kali sih kemarin. Main enak. Sebelum rework tapi. Red Bull give you wings. Copyright. Dulu nggak nyetel musik dulu. Yunara juga. Yunara tuh skillnya mirip Rice dah. Dia kayak Rice tapi versi ADC gitu. Cuma gak bisa teleport aja dia. Gimana nih Gam? Lawannya berat banget. Tapi sisi baiknya kalau misalkan Gam kalah, mereka bakal lawan Furina sih. Tapi masa gitu aja keteteran lawan Furina ya? Furia. Furina saha aja. Furia. Kemarin pernah nabrak DWR, kok main support. Apa klempar kah kamu pick Poppy? Kemarin tuh apa ya masalahnya? Aku tuh main apa ya? Disuruh support sama timnya. Baron deh kalau nggak salah aku picknya. Kagak ngerti main Poppy anjir. Poppy support bisa. Bagus lah. Itu tuh tadinya aku mau main apa Baron Rumble. Mau main Baron Rumble terus supportnya ngajak tukeran tapi dia ngepick Poppy anjir. Mainin pasifnya sih mekanik si Poppy susah mainnya.
Spring and throughout winter as well. And he's just a resource intensive player.
Oh, Ares main.
Just wasn't as effective compared to what they found when playing with Emo. Now,
jungle-nya ganti guys. Jungle-nya jungle-nya mid-nya. Mid-nya ganti.
And so coming into game 2, it seems that they want to try and put more emphasis on that mid lane matchup because
No pressure, it's just Knight.
let's be honest.
It's fine.
When you leave Knight to just do his thing, it does seem that that's a bit of a problem. And that's one of the things about Knight is, regardless of the struggles of BLG, I do think that he has just continued to be a standout player. While his playoffs definitely left something to be desired, when I think about his performance throughout the year, I still think he's been one of the stars of the team. And I've been impressed with what he's been able to demonstrate. And again, he comes into MSI and he has a performance like that. Those Talia walls were just fantastic at every single opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so hard
Itu
to
si
see
Bin
a
kenapa
team like
disamain
Immortal,
sama
like,
kucing
you got that guy.
Chong
You know, the
itu
guy
dah.
who had 4K gold lead. You know the guy who had the perfect Talia walls every single time instead of every single team fight perfectly? Yep, that's your man.
That's your man.
Go
You
get
got him, right?
Go get him, Tiger.
Bener.
Hey, you're the
Isi
carry,
hood.
right?
Oh, also you didn't even get to warm up because you weren't starting.
Apa tadi? Isi Hun?
Every single. You got that guy. You know the guy who had 4K gold lead.
T1 Isi Hun tuh challenger ya.
Well, let's see what he's prepared for us.
T1 challenger.
We're getting ready for the draft in game 2. Of course, we are playing
Bukannya
Fearless. If
Pobi
you have
ya?
just joined us, that means that anything that was picked in game 1 will not be available for the rest of the series. And as we move deeper into the pool, we have to think about things that rise in priority. Things like Varus still high in priority. The Gwen was banned away. Kalista was banned away. We saw a lot of the globals taken away from GAM as well.
Exactly, yeah, and that's
Emang
what I was really
iya
curious
ya?
about. You know, is BLG going to maintain the same bans here? You know, they
Masih
prioritized
Knight
Tilly on
kok
blue
itu.
side with the first pick, and they triple banned globals
Masih Knight yang
away.
main, bukan
So
Isi
it's
Hun.
really interesting to see if that is going to be their strategy throughout this entire series. You know, just deny the globals from GAM, don't allow them to kind of have that additional power to play the map and to really be out there. Or was that something that was more catered towards Emo? We are about to find out here
Oh,
as
jadi
we head on into
coach.
Champ Select, powered by Omen HyperX.
Oh.
It is game 2 here between GAM and BLG. GAM, of course, now on the blue side and with their subbed-in mid laner.
So far, the bans have remained the same. Nocturne coming through from BLG, the Kalista on the side of GAM. Ooh, they're banning
okay.
the TF themselves. So that does raise questions as to what their priority pick is going to be. I mean, they have a lot of options still available to them if they want to play it safe. Things
Oh
like the
TF berarti
Varus,
di buff kayaknya ya.
very safe top side.
Tadi
of the map.
pas
They could also
gitu juga di ban
prioritize
terus,
something
Cok.
like a Wukong for Levi, maybe the Xin Zhao, Pantheon, of course, another very present, powerful champion on the current meta.
Yeah, I mean, the two most played for Eris during the season were the Ryze as well as the Ahri. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, A, is the Ryze left up as one of those kind of semi-global champions? And B, you know, even if that is taken away, would they want to go towards something like the Vi Ahri, which is still up and available here in game number 2? So the shoe is kind of on the other foot, as it just seems that these are the blue side bans that both of these teams feel that are not worth a first pick, but also cannot be given over to the red
Yeah,
side.
I am surprised to see the Pantheon ban come through from GAM. I thought that would be something that they would love to get their hands on. I'm curious as to what the first pick is going to be. BLG now have plenty of time to think about how they're going to round out their bans. They have chosen to remove the Gwen away from Kiaya. We talked about Gwen being a contested pick coming into this series. Both top laners love it. And Aurora very much targeted towards that mid lane matchup. Emo played a lot of
Tumben
it.
pagi,
Eris,
terpaksa.
I mean, they want to still show
Terpaksa
that
stream
respect
pagi.
against the potential pick in the mid
Yeah, but
lane.
no games played on it so far this split.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, you know.
I mean, it might
Karena
be that
penasaran aja.
curveball. BLG prepared so much with the expectation playing into
Iya,
Evo.
minim
Now
3-1 lah,
playing
3-1 lah.
a quantity that they don't know as well.
Levi
Well, here
main
we go. I
Vi.
talked about, you know, two most played were the Ryze as well as the Ahri. I called out the Ahri Vi, so it looks like that's probably what we are going to be heading towards here for GAM, giving themselves some
Levi
playmaking
main
there in the
Vi.
mid lane. And if you are
Knight
expecting it could
main
just be a
up.
slam down of the Annie, which
Berarti
people do quite
main
like
itu apa
into
nih?
that Ahri.
Yeah, and this is the thing that I like about it the most. Knight is daring you
Siapa
to pick
yang
Ahri
bisa
today.
ngendaliin
Not only is he
musuh tuh?
known worldwide
Support?
for his Ahri, but also Annie was a champion that he
Renata,
made a name for
Renata.
himself on back in 2023 at MSI. Was
Renata support kan counternya.
2023, and is one of his comfort picks, and as you rightly said, is very good into the Ahri matchup. So he's basically daring Eris to say, "Go on then, show me what you got," because I'm a big fan of this matchup.
All right, well, it looks like the
Ares
gauntlet
main
hasn't
Ahri.
been thrown
Oh, mid
down.
midnya
I
ganti
think the
nih.
challenge
Apa nih?
about to
Gam.
be answered as it looks like the Ari is going to get locked in. So Eris will be going with
Jitu
it
lawan Fury menang
regardless
Jitu.
of the fact that he's almost being
3-2.
pre-counterpicked here by Knight. I mean, very similar roles that I think both of these champions play on both sides. We have mid jungle for both sides. It is playmaking, it is engage, it is a powerful 2v2 for both of these teams. That being said, I do think that the Annie Wukong kind of is easier to get value out of and is easier to pilot in these team fights.
I think the big value as well is you're taking the Wukong away from Levi. It's one of his staples, one of his go-tos, and by denying that and also giving yourself just strong team fighting prowess, I really like the approach that BLG have taken in the draft. Right now there's a bit of a cheeky Mel hover, but of course
Kataku
there's
sih
a lot of
bukan kurang nggak sih,
flexibility. I would love
emang
to
Knight-nya
see a Jack
kejagoan.
slam Bin, especially after he gets solo killed into then finding that 2v1
Wah, Bin
outplay.
main Jax,
Just
bro.
ride off that confidence, believe
Bro.
in yourself in the same way that we're used to from him. But instead, we're going to play it safe. We're going to get the support lock in to match the Rakan. The Rel going to come through from On, another engaged support. So Beishuan and On. I'm expecting to see some of the synergy that we saw from them in Game 1 with so many fantastic engages being set up by the Alistar from On.
And I really feel like the Rel here on 3 is kind of a bit of an adaptation because of Fearless, but because with Rakan taken away and the Alistar as well as the Nautilus already taken away by the first game's Fearless, if you double ban, say, Leona Rel, then all of a sudden you're really getting into a much lower tier of engaged supports. So I don't think that On was willing to allow that to happen. So as a result, they're going to earlier pick their engaged support. But this series, especially
lawan
if
Vietnam.
Gam is able to get a win, is going to get into kind of that weird territory where supports cannot just pick the default meta engaged champs. They are very quickly going to be pushed out of it.
Vietnam.
Yeah, and I imagine Nico is going to rise in priority as the series goes on. But Xayah, I feel like, will be the follow-up ban coming through from BLG to deny that Xayah-Rakan pairing. On the side of Gam, though, do they really want to limit the mid lane, the AD carry pool? Yeah, they will. Okay, they're going to ban the Xayah themselves.
It's really interesting because I was going to say, one of the things that they could be worried about is
Mau
the actual
nyolokin
desire to
casan
go for
HP,
Elk, right? Because
langsung
they are also showcasing a hard
error
comp
gitu
side answer
aja.
as well. So, it is one of the advantage here of being on red side is that you can essentially like triple ban almost through the AD carry, use your 2 bans, then you take away another on that 4th pick. And you can really limit the champion pool here for Artemis, who had an incredible start to the last game alongside Elio, was able to get that double kill in the 2v3, was really playing well. And it is going to be even more bans thrown down towards that bot lane. Kallista's gone, Xayah's gone, as is the Zeri and the MF and the Jhin and the Varus, all from that previous game.
The AD carry pool, of course, still a very deep one.
Yeah, when you're thinking about safe ones, I'm thinking about things like Ezreal still up and available.
Can you stop
so I
doing
do
that?
wonder if that could be a target for Gam if they are concerned about that. Instead, they are looking more for the offensive option with that Kai'Sa. But Ezreal feels like a real possibility here for Elk.
It's also just one of his go-to champions as well.
It fits, and I'm one of the best in the world at it. It seems like a good pick.
Yep. I very much align. And I think that this is like,
Wah.
so far I really like what BLG have done with their draft. And they're also going to get counterpicked at the very end as well.
Kataku Bin
They
gak
break
bakal
the
main Jax.
with the
Overkill,
Annie,
anjir.
They got themselves the Wukong to set up for some really nice team fighting, and they've got
Elk
so many
dapat
options
Ezreal.
with how they play the fights.
Kalau
Gam
Bin
now,
main Jax sih
they're gonna have to
keterlaluan
black
ya.
pick top. I wonder if Renekton will be something they consider, maybe even the Gnar. Tristana, relatively safe.
Overkill,
solid
bro.
scaling, front to back, good AD carry. But when you think about Tristana, Rakan as a bot lane,
Nonton di HP aja di HP.
potential, but I guess Tristana very
Ambil
good
kerja.
at being independent and free farming to potentially open up Elio to roam with Levi and look for plays on the map.
Yeah, it would have to be, Elk overextending a bit, gets engaged on by Elio, Artemis jumps on his head. But I do like the Buster Shot as the disengage, specifically against Wukong. If you can catch Wukong, as he's going forward, knock him back, that can be quite powerful.
Sion.
Great blind pick here. But there are concerns about the way this draft has gone because, yes, the Annie was picked before the Ari, but it was basically a pre-counter pick.
Iyalah, Bin gak mungkin main Jax. Overkill anjir. Kalau dipakai semua di match ini keterlaluan sih. Nah,
it almost feels like BLG
gak mungkin dia main Bin, gak mungkin dia main Jax.
Pretty much. A lot of hovers coming through from
Keterlaluan.
BLG.
A lot of buffs recently.
The buffed Aatrox on the top side of the map, and I think it's a good matchup into the Sion as well. I mean, BLG just have really solid mid-game spike. Like, that first item comes through, BLG's comp is a really scary composition to play against. I think that GAM's composition wants to do a few too many things. You've got solid dive coming through from the Ari.
Kalau misalkan Bin main Jax, senjata mereka kepake semua tuh.
But you've also kind of got this front to back element.
Rel sama Ezrealnya udah di-pick soalnya.
And so I think that how they execute the fights is going to be a little challenging, especially when you think about, okay, the Vi is going to dive in onto the backline of the Ezreal, but Ezreal can create a lot of space, then the team fight becomes very broken up, and then how much security does the Tristana suddenly have? And so, again, I really like BLG's approach to this draft.
Yeah, me too. It's interesting that you touched on the kind of AD carry dichotomy there, because that's where my mind was going too. Is often when you're playing a comp like this, where you're playing a Tristana in this comp, you have 4 members who want to kind of dive, right? So they all go and they fully dive. What happens there is you're kind of left behind, and now you have a Wukong and an Annie.
I wish Gam win just one round.
Difficult situation if you have
I wish Gam just win just one round. One round is enough.
Better, I think. And Wukong, I think, can be also more effective potentially just as the counter engage.
Tapi MSI-nya bagusan yang tahun kemarin ya setupnya. Yang tahun ini kayak B aja hanya.
Really going to be able to do it. So will be an interesting game here. BLG definitely looking really strong from the draft and from the gameplay in game number 1. But we'll see if Eris can try
yang tahun kemarin cakep
mix
good
things up.
Stage-nya.
Yeah, I mean, all eyes will be on Eris coming into this game. The roster change coming through from the mid lane. Gam's no stranger to making these change up when they feel like they need to. Gam moving over to the blue side. See what early game action they can make happen. Already skirmishes. We saw Knight getting a bit of damage onto Elio. We're seeing the same thing happen in the jungle matchup too.
Game 5 jangan deh.
Levi back early.
Pegel, belum tidur.
Of that continued invade, but while you're watching the action unfold, keep an eye out for exclusive drops just for tuning in to MSI. All you need to do to be logged in and watching on lolesports.com for a chance to score some sweet in-game loot.
LOL esport.
Who doesn't like loot?
I guess it depends what the loot is, you know?
You mean
it's like a bag of coal?
chess?
Then is that really considered loot?
I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, I could
Mr. I like loot.
I'll find a use for it. Yeah, I'll take some coal. I'll do it.
Maybe light up the barbecue, you know, grill some dogs.
Now it's what?
Some hot dogs. Some hot dogs.
That's what you meant. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Like, all right. Well, we can see the runes. Nothing
Game
too
5
crazy.
pegel guys,
What's going to be
sakit
interesting to see
pantat
if Ben would have been
anjir.
playing Conqueror or not in that top lane, but Grasp is just so strong in the early laning phases that
Kalian tidak tahu ya, kursiku terbuat dari besi nih.
Conquer later on. And you can see
Andai ada duit beli kursi baru.
So the wards from Gam spotted out the deep invade.
Kayaknya aku yakin ini kursi aku yang bikin orangnya tukang BDSM anjir.
But Gam wisely respect it.
Mana ada kursi semenyiksa ini kalau didudukin.
The split map will isolate this bot side of the map of Gam.
Mara, welcome to Karbit. Selamat sudah menjadi Karbit. Kita sesama Karbit memaklumi.
And also some much needed revenge after what happened in game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Elio is going to get pushed back here. There's the flash
Yeah, what do you expect, sir?
He's got nowhere to go, and
What do you expect, sir?
I mean, that was just exquisite from On. He flash engages, ticks over to level 2 at just the right time, and he catches Elio completely off guard. Now Levi looking for a response.
Yeah, this kind of has to work here for Gam, but Kiaya is getting incredibly low. Will he just get knocked down by Bin? Bin trying to take him out in that 1v2. Will he be able to do it? Bin now trying to kite back, waiting for the Qs.
Killing Bin though, huge.
Gam get their response kill. So that is a pretty big one because it was just the support that died in bot lane, but still, I mean, the kill went to
Metalol sekarang gimana
As a
deh?
result, Artemis was kind of starved under that tower.
Yeah, honestly, I do think that's a misplay from Ben.
Aku kagak tahu metanya, tapi kalau di prosin ya, kalau di prosin yang lagi OP-OP tuh Natalia, terus rel ya supportnya.
Just enough time to flash out to safety.
On continuing to have impact, a player that I think overall did have a solid year. Some comments around inconsistency have risen, but overall, I think that he's had a very solid year. And now coming into this series, he continues to find plays on the Alistar. His engages were spectacular, and now already early on in game 2.
Sama tadi TF sih, TF permaben terus berarti dia lagi di buff gitu.
Definitely threatening in his positioning here. They do have a ward in Pixel that will be able to spot Beishuan if he wants to head down towards that bot lane. You can see the XP
Alistar tadi sempat lepas berapa kali sih matchnya gitu.
But because his support died, well, it gets some solo XP down on that bot side. So silver linings, I guess, and we'll see.
Sekarang mah lebih sering target Ben sih orang-orang ya. Soalnya kan fearless draft kan.
TP is going back into the mid lane as The junglers now return to their rightful sides of the jungle. Respawn of the Raptors.
Kayak tadi kan Caps championnya 4-4-nya di ban sama Furia. Gitu terus lagi. Ahri sih kepake mulu sih. Dan Ahri mah bisa blind pick juga, soalnya dia jarang di ban kan. Ahri lagi bagus karena ada item baru tuh yang Maleficent itu. Jadi dia ngedash mulu. Itu kayaknya udah jadi first item dia deh sekarang. Gimana cara bacanya? Maleficent. Maleficent.
Tell you're not a top laner by that comment.
Yeah, I know, right? I know.
Just playing against Nico Varus, no problem.
He's such a big fan of
just
playing
stand
to
in your
this
tower, play for experience. Loves it, trust me.
Loves it. And Aatrox really doesn't love that.
Iya, bacanya gimana sih? Ribet
I'm
aja.
expecting an early swap to come through from Gam. In the meantime, Levi covering his bot side of the map.
He's going to spot On here, and On still has no flash, but should be able to just walk it out. You know, Artemis and Ilio not in position to really follow up there. We'll see Gam just kind of fishing around this bottom side. We'll see if Levi wants to be starting up this dragon. Is On going to threaten with a Hex Flash there? Beishwan does arrive. Try to back up the rest of the team, and they are looking here. The charm does connect on to Knight, and there is the Q to follow.
Oh, kill net dong. That's huge. Tapi lagi-lagi kayak Levi yang carry.
On the LPL mid laner.
Nicely done.
Di gam gitu pasti. Nanti Levi ahead.
Pays off super effectively. They knew that
Terus susah udah Levi doang yang main.
To make that mid lane play, and they were able to find magic. And they're able to get themselves another kill, so Gam off to another small.
Iya, dulu kan Luden kan itemnya.
Really nice that he also used Tibbers there, right? Like
Orang sudah melupakan Luden sekarang. Kemahalan juga sih Luden ya.
I believe off of the kill or off of the minions as that kill was happening. So there is a chance that they could just look for a rinse and repeat play as Levi's also closing in on level 6.
Simply is Dragon looking to be secured by BLG as the swap is coming through now from Gam. The rotation into the mid lane from Elio. Working with Levi, something that we continue to see, this combination of the jungle plus support. Artemis, I think he was able to sidestep the vision there. Oh, doesn't matter. He's just going to make his presence known as the Scion looking to TP towards the bot side of the map. Dragon secured. Grubs still a minute and a bit more away.
Yeah, Levi heading up towards that top side. They were going to try to see, does Bin overstay his welcome? This time he does not.
Ahri pokoknya yang kepake sih kalau Prosin sih. Dia jarang di ban dan blind pick juga bisa kepake di situasi apapun. Tadi Cap sebenarnya mau pakai Tristana mid sih, tapi di ban sama Furia. Tadi sempat bakal ada Tristana mid, tapi di ban.
Levi doesn't really get to steal much away, even though he spent a lot of time on the top side of the map. He's looking to steal away these Raptors. Knight is here. Ulti, 4 seconds.
Well, they're definitely thinking about it. And On now has his flash back, but it feels like it's just a couple seconds too late. If they had that Tibbers earlier, might have gone for the play here.
Very much agree. But the swap has come through. The problem now for Levi is he kind of wants to clear his bot side camps, which is very far away from the Grubs, which means that BLG are going to be set up for success. And when we think about how BLG made this road here, I mean, they started their playoffs in pretty dominant fashion. Back-to-back 3-0s. It wasn't until that they actually ran into AL that they.
Ini kayak kasusnya sama kayak match tadi lagi deh. Early menang Gam, terus nanti yang menang BLG.
To then rematch AL where they fell short once again. And I think it's easy to remember that while they did have a difficult regular season, BLG really did step up in the playoffs, and they were able to showcase a lot of improvements after so many of the struggles that they ran into with the jungle changes, the coaching staff struggles. They were able to find their footing and make.
Bisa tuh satu lagi masih ada smite nih.
Speaks to the incredibly high standards that are
set
for
semua nih
BLG. When you talk about expectations, that people are saying, they're not looking as strong, they're not as consistent. Well, they got second in the LPL, and they kind of crushed in playoffs for a lot of it, except against AL. So BLG definitely still a team to be reckoned with, and we'll see, if they can reclaim.
Kayaknya skin Aatrox yang itu laku banget ya.
to really challenge the
Tiap
likes
turnamen
of
pasti
Gen G
skin
and
Atrox yang itu
T1
yang
and
dipakai.
LCK teams that are going to be waiting
Kalau
for
nggak
them
yang
in
itu
the group
pasti yang
stage.
mecha.
Completely right that it's very much expectations and it's all about perspective, right? You know, like making the finals of the LPL for many of the teams competing at MSI would be a massive achievement, but for BLG and especially the way that they got there,
Getting a win over EU, over NA for EU, also a massive achievement.
Exactly that. And I think that for BLG, they just held to a very high standard, and it's understandable. Like World Finals last year, MSI Finals last year, like they are consistent finalists, and they are hungry for that title. Of course, there is still a long road to go. The Plains is the first step of them here at the international events. And right now, they find themselves 1k gold down. GAM did secure the grubs. They've now swapped back towards the bot side of the map. Plate still very well defended by the BLG bot lane, but a slower early game.
Yeah, it's all feeling like it's going to come down to the team fights. You know, this game, again, is a lot slower than the last one. GAM did get out to a pretty nice early advantage in that one, but of course BLG kind of erased that advantage in the first major team fight. GAM again,
Masa kagak tidur aja.
they do have some good scaling here. You know, you're looking at the Tristana when you're
Apa
looking up at
nanti mah
Kiaya
next
and the
stream
Zion as
tidur
well.
dulu kali ya.
But there's a lot of power compositionally.
Tapi
for
bablas
BLG,
anjir
and
kalau
I feel
tidur
like
dulu.
what they have drafted really does answer what GAM wants to do incredibly well.
I mean, and that's the beauty of League, right? Often you have these very clear expectations around how fights are going to go, but then it all comes down to execution in the moment. And I think what the scariest thing we saw in Game 1 was how BLG, they didn't even give GAM the chance to set up. It was like they attacked them in the setup, catching them completely off guard. And we'll see if GAM can find their footing in the fights. There's been, continues to trade in the 1v1 against Kiaya. Kiaya's doing very good. The 1v1.
Both junglers are here, though. You can actually see the jungle pet moved into that. So Base 1 is here, as is Levi, and Bin
Mati
is gonna get
Bin,
the bad
Fai
news.
lagi yang
They
ambil.
go first, and they grab the kill.
Oh,
Quick
oh
collapse
dapat
from
itu
Levi.
sih.
As you rightly identified, Azael, it was very much just a kind of test to see which jungler would punish first. And Levi, he didn't hesitate. Quick collapse, easy pick. Can find themselves their third kill of the game.
And honestly, I think it's probably good for BLG that Base 1 didn't go in, because Ilya was TPing up there with his Spellbook Summoner, so it would have been a 3v2. If he hard committed to that, right into this Recon, you get double charmed up, you get CC'd, you're probably both going to go down. You can see, though, BLG, of course, trying to punish on that bottom side. Another plate will fall, but no one going to be in range to actually grab that gold, unfortunately, for GAM, so that will just kind of be lost.
You'll notice as well, Levi was actually given a lot of resources there. He was the one that grabbed the plate. He was the one that grabbed that extra farm in the lane. Trini Force completed for him as the second dragon is started off.
Ya,
It's
Levi
gonna be a very
terlalu sering
difficult one for
nge-gank.
GAM to really contest because of how much time Levi spent on the top side of the map. So BLG quickly stacking up these dragons.
Yeah, I
Tapi
mean, it
kalau
was
di
like a
LoL PC gak
23-24
gak bisa kayak WR ya. Kalau di WR mah banyak ngegeng, objektif dapet gitu. Ya kalau di PC balance lah. Kalau sering ngegeng pasti skip objektif. Kalau misalkan objektif pasti skip ngegeng. Balance tuh. Dan kalau di Wild Trip kalau udah jungle div anjir.
Especially when it's a Mountain Soul and you're thinking about how these comps want to play, it's so much about the upfront damage, right? It's about being able to get those 100-0 plays with the Fi and the Ahri. Well, Mountain Soul makes that a lot more difficult.
Certainly does. You'll also notice the early Merc treads on Eris. It's just kind of a necessity in this matchup. There's very little that you can do. You just need that CC reduction against the Annie, especially when it's paired up with something like the Rel. And of course, it means that you don't either get the Ionian boots or Sork boots, depending on your preference. So we'll see how much that actually ends up affecting him. Right now, the Vi is looking incredibly strong. Levi really set up for success. The player that, I mean, so many should know based on his international appearances now at this point. We'll see how much of an impact he's able to have on this game. It's BLG's good vision coverage on the bot side of the map means that they have full information as to where he is right now. Those 3 wards littered throughout the jungle, cleanly tracking what he is up to, as our observers are highlighting for us now. And this is sort of one of the big things that so many top teams around the world remain very good at. Keeping good information, very clear, making sure that you see what the enemy team is up to. GAM setting their sights on this top tower. TP's going to come through from Bin.
Yep, Bin going to be arriving up here, just trying to protect this as much as he possibly can. Is on around here with Elk, but Eris does have the backup of Levi in the area, and they are trying to look to threaten this dive here. Elio looks
Seriusan.
but cannot actually hit there. Will have to back off very likely as Beishuan and On now are going to be in the area. On
Levi di
spotted
sana
on the
sih.
ward as Artemis trying to get that
Ada
tower
Levi.
down. Can't quite finish it off. Levi's going to go in. Here's Beishuan. He gets the bad news as On is trying to turn this fight
Sakit
around.
banget
Now on the
Wukong
backside,
damage-nya.
gets a shot out by Artemis.
Gak
Artemis trying to get
balance,
work done,
Cok.
and the TP's going to be coming in as well. Gam is fully committing to this. Eris in trouble on the side though as he's going to get the charm down on the Knight. But
Mati
Knight
dong.
gets a stun of his own and he's chasing after Eris. Eris has to flash as Elk is now flanking them on the Ezreal. He goes in, he gets the shutdown, flashes out to safety as well. Another TP coming
Datang
in.
lagi.
Kiaya wants nothing to do with this. He's going to hold out to safety and it's Artemis that's kind of lagging
Dikejar,
behind
Cok.
here. Kiaya stopping to try to peel, make sure they cannot catch up to that Tristana. But that means the mid lane tier 1 is going to be completely exposed.
Apa ya item counter biar buat Wukong tuh? Wukong damage-nya sakit nih bener. Bikin item anti kritikal bukan kritikal dia. Bikin item armor, dia damage-nya scaling HP anjir.
The idea was promising from GAM. They wanted to threaten
Broken
the dive. They were
Beco,
setting their
Wukong.
sights on the top tower, and BLG was just covering for the possibility of a dive. But then, when BLG recognized the GAM was ready to fight, BLG are no strangers to a fight. So the moment that GAM tested them, BLG responded in kind. The double TPs came through from both mid laners, and Ahri TPing in that situation is just way more favorable for the Annie. It's so much easier for her to drop her combo. Eris was forced out of the fight immediately. But reminder that Levi still gets the Herald.
Oh, they want this dive. There's Tibbers coming down. The CC chain is
Ow,
going
ow.
to be enough. Eris going to get smoked down by Beishuan. We'll be able to limp out to safety.
Warmuk.
Very nice dive comes through from
Warmuk kagak ada
BLG.
damage
They'll get
magic
themselves the
dia.
gold lead. Set their sights on this bot tower.
Gak tau, aku juga bingung kalau lawan Wukong yang jago banget, itemnya apa ya? Kadang stres aja kalau lawan Wukong yang jago banget.
Tower secured on the top side of the map, so at the very least GAM will find a cross map, and credit to GAM.
Apa ya
keeping
item
things
counternya
competitive.
biar
3 to 3
kagak
in kills, the gold very even.
disekaratin sama dia.
Knight's back also going to be interrupted.
You can also see the feats of strength are going to come down to one more objective. Both
Ini
teams
bahkan
on sort of
hitungannya
three
Wukong
objectives.
yang
We had the
tank
feat of
itu,
warfare
bukan
there
yang
for GAM. First tower went away
lethal.
of BLG, so
Damage-nya
these two
lethal
teams,
Wukong,
it's going to be down to this
anjir,
next dragon fight. You
nangis,
have to feel
Cok.
like that is in 40 seconds.
Double Trinity for Spike coming through from BLG. We talked about it in the draft. This spike is where I feel this composition gets super scary, and it's going to be on this next dragon. 30 seconds away. Of course, GAM sitting on items of their own, but we'll see how they fare against this setup from BLG. Their team fight setup, I mean, just look at them anyway. You can see all the vision coverage that comes through. There's one potential very deep ward coming through all the way on the bot side of the map. GAM are setting their sights on the mid lane to try and gain control. They have the Rift Herald drop. I like this, giving them access into the river.
Yep, good to be able to get this to crash. You can see Eris marking Beishuan on the side, but Knight has a good position here, looking for a potential flank. Ultimate's ready for pretty much everyone. Knight's going to be up in a couple seconds as Kiaya fishing.
Oh,
Will
Knight,
hit some
ada
damage
Knight.
down here
Jangan di
onto
situ.
On. But it's going to be about the engage. And if GAM will allow BLG to
Renata
get in
Glass
here,
dia sih
they're
enaknya
gonna go.
soalnya
And they're
supportnya.
looking to engage as Eris that's caught. It's
Wah.
Eris that's killed by Knight, but in the back line, it's
Wah,
Leo trying to
kalah.
turn things around, trying to beat down
sakit
Knight,
tapi.
but he didn't do it. Elio just trying to
Yo.
peel off Beishuan,
Yo.
and Knight finally gets killed by Kiaya, but he's knocked down as well. Levi
Oh,
on the
oh.
run, the bot lane is scattered. GAM
Alah,
already
apa itu
for the
Atrox,
hills,
anjir.
but BLG do not want to let them get away here.
That's pretty
They're trying to
cringe.
find one more bit of
Please,
CC.
please
The
spare me.
Heartbreaker will
Nice.
get Levi out to safety as GAM's bot lane immediately runs mid, trying to take a tower
Ya,
here, but that
sesuatu lah.
means it is going to be
Satu dua
feats
deh.
of strength going to BLG with this dragon as well as the soul point.
On is just exceptional. The
Oh, tapi
small
goldnya dapat.
positioning mistake from Eris immediately capitalized on by On. Eris doesn't get a chance. Look, he's just stepped up one step too far. On realizes it,
Dead.
brings him back into the team. Quick snap engage.
Langsung hilang
If
itu Ahri.
Eris had been allowed to live a little bit longer, look at how much work Kiai actually does in the fight. He gets so much damage down. Levi wants to
Damage apa aja
re-engage
sih,
with him, but Artemis and Elio are. Eris had been allowed to live a little bit longer into the team. Look, he's just snap engage. Far On realizes it,
Cek,
brings
cek.
him back
Oh,
into the
iya.
team. Quick snapping.
Wukongnya sakit banget anjir.
Yeah, great fight there by BLG. I mean, you called it out. The engage was picture perfect. I also loved how they synced up that engage with the True Shot Barrage, so that even tanked onto Eris right as he goes forward. So the True Shot Barrage hits, the perfect engage from On, and Knight just kind of knocks down Eris. Would have been a completely different fight, like you say, had he not gotten caught there. but that's the beauty of BLG. That's the strength of their team fighting, is you don't always get a second chance. You make that one mistake and sometimes the fight is over, sometimes the game is over.
And I mean, again, I just want to sing On's praises. Like, he's having a fantastic series so far. His engages, both on the Alistair and on the Rel, have been nothing short of spectacular. We'll see if he can continue to find these engages as Knight finds himself on the top side of the map. Gam looking for the cross map, committed 4 members towards this tower. BLG want to try and defend.
Yeah, On threatening with the Hex Flash there, but Kiaya is stepping forward. He does pick up the tower aggro. Has to be a little bit careful. He's just tanking that tower. The tower's not getting knocked down. The target is not being focused. We can see TP.
Oh, damage-nya sakit dong.
Is he going to arrive in time? Beishwan going to get knocked down. On's in trouble next, but Kiaya has fallen.
Fokus, 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 fokus.
Just to get knocked down.
Fokus Ezreal.
They are chasing after them. The resets are
Oke, Bin nggak apa-apa.
Levi kills Bin. They knock down 3 for only
nice,
the cost
nice,
of the
nice.
Scion.
It's a fantastic fight.
We
for
still
Gam.
got chance.
BLG tried to defend a tower that they had no business defending. Rather than go for the cross map, they took the fight to Gam and they paid
Ih, Tristana
the
belum mati.
price. Kiaya loses his life, but as you said, Azale, 3 kills.
Ngincer Tristana susah
Such an
juga
interesting
sih.
fight, 'cause
Dia
I
ada
thought it
shield
was
tuh.
looking kind of rough at the start there for Gam.
Oh, yeah.
As Kiaya picked up the
Terus
tower, I think
lompat,
earlier
kan.
than he meant, maybe with the Sunfire Cape.
We look back at this engage. Kiaya gets an aggro that you're talking about. On then gets an ulti.
Shawa gak ada
Two
vision ya,
members, the
udah
crash down
kelihatan.
comes through. But this time around, Eris is left completely untouched. He gets given a lot of space as well. They focus their targets well, taking out Beishwan first, knowing that he's the biggest threat. And the moment the Knight arrives,
Tristana ini yang bikin Talon gak kayak gak
And that
kayak
was just
Mesai.
beautiful from Elio. Notice how he waited to use his ult so it'd still be there as Knight arrived. And then he just stood there with his ult active on the ward that's getting TP'd to. So there's no chance. for
Talon
Knight to do
bukannya
anything. He's
dibantai
instantly
sama
charmed. He's knocked up. He's
Chef,
burst
apa ya?
down. Beautiful team fighting from Gam there. And just like that, they're up again 1,000
Gambling
gold.
ya?
They're looking towards Otacon. This can
Slot
be a
terakhir
dangerous
tuh.
prospect. We've seen this go wrong so many times for
Gambling.
teams as BLG looking to approach, and we'll spot it now.
tension continues to mount as Beishwan trying to find an angle in. Elio acting as the gatekeeper for now.
It is getting low. It's going to be a smite fight.
Dapat lah. Loh, ditinggal anjir. Atakannya. Ditinggal anjir. Giveaway, bro. Giveaway itu bukan steal away anjir, giveaway itu mah cowok.
As it turns into a front to back between the two teams. I thought that with Beishwan getting one shot at the start, it was going to be a guaranteed fight for Gam, but BLG did not hesitate. They did not slow down. They respond with aggression of their own, and they pick up 2 kills for themselves, taking out both Levi and Kiaya. With them gone, the front line disappears, and Gam is forced to retreat.
Yeah, it is tough. You know, you have to wonder, could they have played that different? You know, maybe sacrifice Kiaya to try to buy some time, but now Artemis, beautiful buffer on the rocket jump there. We'll be able to get him out to safety. Because Levi turned,
Atakan ngasih tambahan buff 25%.
So then they were kind of up the creek without a paddle.
Apa? Nambah buff epic monster 25% ya? Apa 35?
This Annie is getting scary. Just the team fight value that Annie can provide, even just stunning up 2 members can be so difficult to deal with. And as we look back at the fight, you'll see Beishwan's approach is very difficult. Elk does a good job of trying to
bentar, ini di situ lah. Kenapa nggak fokus atakan aja dikit lagi? Bingung aku kenapa si Levi masuk anjir. Coba. Di situ ada Wukongnya. Fokus aja anjir. Kagak usah, biar tim lu aja yang ngalangin Wukong ya kan? Kenapa dia terbang, kocak?
Yeah, taking some damage, is going to get Shattering Struck and stunned up, but will be okay. Still losing about 30% of your health before that fight.
Oke, ini kecek demam panggung.
Oh, he's actually going to look for the engage. He's looking for a Knight here. Elk just shifts out of the way, though, and Kiaya is now the one in trouble. Aer's trying to get some damage down on Beishwan. He can't actually connect much. Elio's got to run, so does Kiaya. And Gam are getting crushed. On flashes in, Artemis flashes out. Artemis tries to turn the
itu keren sih.
Artemis gets a kill, he gets a shutdown. It's Bin now trying to take the damage in the front line. It's going to be another kill for Artemis as he jumps forward. He's looking for the gap. BLG turn on him. It's a double for Bin. It's Kiaya knocked down.
Quadra kill kah, Bin?
And the triple for Bin. And it's going to be Mountain Soul as well.
It's chaos across in the mid lane, but BLG fight their way through
Mountain
it,
Hall.
securing an ace.
3-0 kayaknya, guys.
Walking away with 3 members alive.
Guys, kayaknya 3-0
They've
guys.
got themselves the soul, they'll get themselves a tower, and they're looking to get themselves game 2 in this series.
Streamnya pagi amat. Iya.
They tried to get very aggressive, but the amount of damage they took early on in that fight really did feel like it kind of swung it. Ilio and Kiaya ate so much free damage early on. Even with Artemis and Eris finding angles to try to get in, just try to play it aggressive, it was very tough.
I mean, we're going to check out the MasterCard priceless moment of the game because
Mountain
it
Soul.
was a situation where as
Gold
Kiaya
gapnya
goes
udah
in,
3.000.
Artemis is going out.
Tapi
He is
somehow gold
afraid of the
gapnya
engage that comes through. And you'll notice here, look,
Gak
Artemis, he's gonna
sebanyak
jump
yang
backwards
kita
as the
kira
engage
loh.
comes through from Kiaya. He's afraid of the engage from On, and now they're separated. Elio tries to follow
Even
up on
though
the engage
BLG
from
is
Kiaya,
winning,
and this
obviously.
front to back doesn't look particularly promising. Then this knockback that comes through from Levi.
3-0 ini guys, BLG guys. Bayangin aja ranking 3 dunia lawan ranking 22. Menang 1 game aja bersyukur ini mah. Top 3 versus top 22. Jauh anjir.
Now, Artemis tried to go big, tried to find that opportunity to get in on Elk, but Elk still had his flash, and Artemis had to spend his flash to avoid the engage from On, so he didn't have that to actually follow. Now, even though he goes in with a rocket jump, it was a good angle, was very, very tough, and Bin was just kind of life drain tanking everything that he was throwing at him, where Kiaya had
Hebat ya
taken
mentalnya
so much
Levi.
damage.
Bayangin jadi Levi anjir nge-carry tim lawan BLG cu. Aduh, kalau kebayang itu gemeter ini.
Attention to what will be the Baron. BLG, after that last fight, the goal difference doesn't look insane, but they're in such a good position with the soul secured. Good vision coverage on the top side of the map. TPs are available for both solo laners. I think they could afford to split them up and start getting some control. You can see both the top and bot waves in somewhat awkward positions as BLG are just kind of
bayangin jadi broken blade farming. Itu anomali sih kalau itu. I don't know what he doing.
Push comes through. Now BLG will set their sights towards the Baron area.
Yeah, and there's going to be chances for Gam. You know, generally when you give up Soul, you're kind of hoping that you can keep things close enough that you can have a shot at Elder to try to steal that away, but BLG not going to give you the
ngajak
time
by
to
one
sit back
Aatrox
and wait
anjir,
for
aneh
that to
banget.
spawn. They are pushing the pace. They are already here on to Baron. And look at the positioning from Knight and on opposite sides. They could look for the snap engage. Knight going to get spotted, but Levi's already in trouble. And Levi's going to get jumped on by Baekjuan. Here comes Bin. And there goes Levi. He is down already. Eris trying to get one back. Is able to do so as they trade the junglers back and forth. Kiaya's in the middle of everyone, but he is not going to be living for long. Elk is on a rampage and Gam is on the run. Bin connects. It's going to be a rocket jump back from
Satu game aja please, satu game. Just win one game. Gam please. BLG please throw.
He doesn't have another rocket jump. He doesn't have another reset. And he doesn't have a way out. Eris now next to fall. He is running. And he has got nowhere to go. Elk goes unstoppable. BLG take another big win.
From Baron to bot lane, BLG hunt down the kills as they look to finish Gam off. A nice snap engage once again around the Baron as they see the face check come through from Levi. And Knight says, "All right, it doesn't
melawan
matter
tim
who the
top
target
3 ya.
is. I believe that we can one-shot whoever face checks me." Especially when
Top
they're expecting
3.
Kaede to be that main force heading towards the Baron.
It's
They
kinda
get that initial
unfair.
kill, and it's promising from Gam,
The
'cause they
matchmaking is
actually
kinda
get the kill back
bullshit.
from the Baekjuan themselves. The problem is in the extended fight, Kiaya is just left isolated, and BLG, without any hesitation, turn their
Are you
attention
telling me
back
this
towards
is
the
part
Baron.
of the plan?
They are on the Baron, and now Gam have got to try to do it all over again. Kiaya is body, has his TP, and he is coming, but it feels like
Lawannya
it's too little,
kagak
it feels
adil,
like too late. Levi
Cok.
not even there yet, and the Baron is already gone, and now all Gam can do is just try to run. On goes to the
How
ground
is
now,
this
looking for Eris.
fair?
He's going to be able to land the charm as Kiaya trying to create some space for the rest
God
of the team to get
flag.
out, but Elk is going in. Elk is going aggressive as always onto Eris. He's going to be able to ult over the wall to safety.
Iya,
Barely
ini
survived the
MSI.
true shot barrage. Gam to get out, but BLG got what they came for. That is the Baron.
Now with the Baron, they can
Oh.
work
Gak ngacak
towards
sih sistemnya, tapi
the sieging of
tai
these
banget dah
tier 3
kebagian
towers.
lawan BLG Gam.
Baekjuan hovering around mid lane to kind of keep the wave pushed in. He doesn't want to clear out the whole wave yet, because if he just pushes in this mid wave, then everything's going to be desynced. We'll regroup with his team. Now they're looking to play through these two lanes, so they get full coverage around that topside jungle. They send Bin towards the mid lane, the rest of them head towards top, and now these two waves looking to try and crash at similar times.
Halo
This
bang.
tier 2 tower going to be a difficult one to defend for Gam.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, especially when they saw two members from Gam mid lane very recently. It looks like Gam are sending 3 towards Bin. I think they're trying to see, is there an opportunity here for a pick? But Bin is playing respectfully. He's just going to back it up.
Bisa jadi kena copyright, tapi
is getting hammered by Elk right
udah
now.
bilang sih ke Riotnya. Kata
Riotnya
Riotnya mah terserah. Itu serah itu berarti ya dia juga nggak tahu. Aku udah email Riot, katanya sih serah.
A pick onto Bin, the isolated member, perhaps if they can find that kill, leverage the numbers advantage, but BLG, their siege is relentless. First tower will fall, and now they've gained access into the base. The inhibitor soon to follow.
Iya, aku gak pakai kucing lagi soalnya kata Riotnya serah ya. Ya udah aku gas aja gitu. Kalau masih kena copy strike sih bener-bener ya. Tapi yang ngomong bukan ininya sih. Apa namanya? Adminnya yang ngomong. Jadi dia juga gak punya hak apa-apa. Ya udahlah, gas.
And that is going to be target for both of these two teams.
5-0-9 scoreline for Elk, 1-1-40.
Ini League of Legends.
The spot lane has been on fire in this game too. Another ultimate will come across, only connect onto Kiaya. He's going to miss a couple Qs, but the amount of damage that Elk has been doing in this game has been monstrous.
Absolutely has, and Knight just completed the Shadow Flame. They took that late base though, so this gives Gam the opportunity to start this one up. The question is, can they actually finish it in time? Eris on the side, going to be able to try to look for a chunk on a base one. Can't actually connect with the charm, unfortunately. Kiaya is just getting crushed. There's the flash forward by Elio, but there's no one there to follow it up. Gam spend everything to go into the back line there. They lose two.
Elder loh ini.
Like they don't even dent the health bars, and
Elder.
now King wants to get involved in the action. Levi popping his ult over
We don't have a chance. Yeah, no. Nah. Apa itu nge-heal segitu aja Ratrox? Wow. Dan mereka bilang kita bisa bikin anti-heal untuk Atrox. Sure.
Are going to be moving for the Nexus here, taking this second game. It's 22-11, a 10,000 gold lead as BLG are making no doubt about it. A clean ace of the Elder Dragon is what will spend the
3-0 ini mah anjir.
all the way to match point.
Some impressive team fighting coming through from BLG.
Ini tidak adil. Ini tidak adil.
Throughout this game,
Bagaimana bisa gak melawan BLG hari pertama, bro?
just got the better of their opposition. On with some incredible engages throughout this game. It felt like Elk was just untouchable, and then to round things out, just Bin on the Aatrox. I mean, he was just a literal
Classic
demon
Ben.
in the fights.
He was looking so damn good. BLG looking in form in the first two games here. They are poised to try to sweep out their opponents in this first series, move on to face G2. That would be their next opponent here. But of course, Gam not out of it just yet. But being down 2 games against BLG is incredibly difficult. They would have to reverse sweep from here. We're going to be heading to the break though.
Ini
On the other
BLG
side,
sih
we'll see Gam
nyantai
Esports
sih.
can fight off that
Yang
3-0
gemeter
sweep
itu
from
Gam
BLG.
ini. Gam udah pasti gemeter itu.
Let me throw it to the ground, make 'em turn around.
Oke, kalau musik-musik mah mute aja kayaknya. Aduh. Goleran dulu kali ya. Pegal kali, bro. Pegal. Goleran dulu, cok. Gerakan Aceh Merdeka. Ntar guys, goleran dulu guys. Oke. Udah mulai kah?
Yeah, because it was a slower paced game, and technically the goal lead was there for GAM, and this fight was looking pretty decent. They had pushed Bin away, but the TPs come through. Guess who was on the flank, Emily?
Kayak cuma keajaiban yang bisa bikin GAM menang lawan Belgi. Kecuali Belgi nge-troll sekali-kali ya.
Half of this fight, and this is really when
Ayolah Belgi nge-troll sekali lah.
in action before that was kind of the first fight where he
We
really
need
started taking
And this was another instance where like GAM had
we need
positioning on the
hiburan.
objective,
What
like,
is
Aries
hiburan
stepped a
in
little bit too far
English?
forward, and On has just been on point with his rel or just any kind of engaged champion. So if he sees the angle,
Enggak,
he's
aku
going
gak main
to go
LoL
for it.
PC.
He's able to immediately go on rest.
Kelamaan
He dives
matchnya.
for it, and they're able to chase the
Males.
rest of the kills. So like, even though in the early game it was looking pretty good for GAM, Levi was getting early kills, got one mid lane, and they got grubs. Like everything they had pushed through mid, everything was looking good. But then the game slowed down. Those two plays happen. Bin is going crazy.
Bin's going crazy, and suddenly flanking Ezreal is pumping out Ezreal damage numbers. Have a look at the post-game breakdown powered by AWS. We can see Ezreal in general statistically is going to do well in the damage department. Any poke champion will, but it's still nice to see, you know, a nice chunky number. And I think for BLG, while there's still moments in the early game that look a little bit shaky, overall it's clear that GAM have just not been able to keep up when it comes to the team fighting, when it
Kasih ya
comes to the
nama
execution.
I was curious just
Levi.
to see that small part from that team fight, right?
Yeah.
There's Elk right there.
That's so much damn.
Yeah.
1.9, the Annie full combo getting outweighed by the flanking Ezreal, which is a word I never expect to say ever again.
But we saw it in action.
But we did see flanking Ezreal. Don't try it in your solo queue. It probably won't work. But you know,
Or
if you're
do.
Elk or do, who am I
Good
to
luck.
judge? Good luck, I think is a good point. And I don't want to say good luck to GAM, although it does feel like a little bit of luck would go a long way because BLG are playing incredibly well, proficient in the team fights. It's match point now. It's not elimination. Of course, if they lose here, GAM will still get another chance tomorrow up against Furia.
Berarti
But I
GAM
don't
kalau
wanna
kalah
count
lawan
out this
Furia.
game. What are we looking at? What do
Ya
GAM
lawan
need
Furia
to
juga
do
belum
to
tentu
bring this
menang
series
GAM
back?
si
What do
GAM.
they need to focus on to try to have an answer for BLG?
Furia tadi
I'll
lawan
start this
G2
off.
main
Again, we can see it.
bagus.
Basically, 2 points that I have ready for me is like, this is kind of looking to the past. Thankfully, we have Fearless Draft, so we won't be
I
able to
don't-
see the
I
situation
don't
again. We
know.
have Vi, Sion going up against Aatrox, but the main point away is just going to be, let's just focus on getting a better draft in that situation, where if I look at that and I'm like, oh, we're giving that look, that matchup, don't want to see it. Another one is just like, watch your positioning when it comes to objective setups.
So I just want to be clear, you really took the time to make Vi, Sion, and Aatrox the biggest parts.
Yeah.
But I think the moral of the story is the really
this.
tiny part.
Ah.
It says draft better and watch
Kalau
your
gak
positioning.
salah
Watch your
bracketnya
positioning,
belum
please,
dibikin
because
deh.
they have leads
Buat
early.
apa?
Yeah.
It feels
Play-
depressing when you see these
play
games
in
like pan out the way they are, and a week from now you're
Group
like, this is like
happening.
2-0, perhaps 3-0, and you're going to be sad about it.
Bracketnya,
But
bracketnya
have
belum
windows,
dibikin
they're
deh.
putting themselves in good position. They need to be able to follow it
Masih
through.
play
Yeah,
in.
and I think the follow through, especially if you're going to have a rest coming in the mid lane, right? He is more of a carry player. If you do end up having that mid prio,
Avatarku kenapa dah?
play around it, right? Like this composition, like obviously we talked about
Yeah, we did.
the
Ya,
Aatrox
Bang, nanti
pick,
saya
right?
duduk,
But
Bang.
like Vi Ahri combo, that's kind of what you really want to be playing around early. So, and then early Drake stacking, I think, has kind of killed them a bit in terms of there's been a team fight where BLG have been able to set up around Drake, they have the Drake stacking power, and they win it, and then they just kind of take over the game.
Yeah.
I think if you end up in that position where the enemy team has 3 Drakes and that team is BLG and you have to team fight them, that feels like a
It's not a
hard.
fun time.
And they've
tear's
got
coming down my
Aatrox.
eye.
Like, yeah, it's scary. It's a difficult thing. GAM have once again chosen blue side. I think not super surprising. That has been the priority for most teams in the tournament. I imagine that'll continue. Is there any specific pick or any specific player that they really need to focus on? You brought up draft better, but we didn't get to really get into the nitty gritty of what you want to see more of, other than don't give Bin an Aatrox angle. Are we just looking at Kiaya and Levi to get back to the things we talked about at the start of the
Yeah,
day? Are these the
because-
guys that need to set up?
On top of it, I'm also seeing no substitutions, so that just means we're going to be continuing to see Eris. Like, I did like, the one aspect of Emo that I like is the playmaking nature that he had if he was on like a Yone or something like that, because something I really wanted to be able to see was like, when you had Prio like that, yeah, you can play around it, or also you can use your move to go up top side or bot lane. I like Azir a lot. If we can get to see Azir here, maybe we can see a more scaling element from GAM. That could do well for them. That's a pick that I really want to focus on a little bit more.
And then my really really quick thing is obviously there were a ton of AD carry bans coming out, especially in the 4-5.
Yeah.
But I'd also similarly want to get Artemis on something that he would be able to carry in team fights.
But I think it's safe to say the odds are stacked. We've got a laundry list of things. But I think GAM is a team that every time we count them out domestically, internationally, they do manage to make something happen. Movistar Koi learned that the hard way last year. We'll see if BLG can learn the same lesson today. That's enough from us here at the desk. Casters standing by.
Halo,
My
Bang.
favorite two-color casters. Well, a color caster play-by-play hybrid who's doing a hell of a good
Who
job.
interviewed earlier today,
Boys,
too.
Kingston native.
Take it away.
Thank you, thank you. I'm a bit of a mudblood, you know, half play-by-play, half color caster these days.
No, I'm impressed, man. You're doing a fantastic
you.
job, and
Appreciate
I
it.
think that BLG are doing
Itu
a
headphone-nya
fantastic
lucu
job
banget
of
bentuk.
dissecting GAM in the team fights. It feels like that on with his engages, the positioning from Elk, and then Bin just, I mean, it feels like that's the Bin that we expected,
Bin.
like when it comes to international
Bin.
competition.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of these things where it's sometimes funny, right? I almost feel like it's similar with T1, where you're like, come to international, you're like, they really struggled, guys. Like, trust me, they had a lot of troubles. It's not going to be smooth sailing, and they just like slam everyone. You're like, no, it seems like the same as last year.
Lebih ke
And
ngantuk
it's like
deh.
if you didn't watch any LPL, you're watching Ben, you're like, what are you talking about? Like, Ben inconsistent? What do you mean? He's 1v2ing them under the tower. He's unkillable on the Aatrox. Like, that's the Ben I know. These casters just making things up. What are these guys doing?
And the reason why I think it's important that we tell these stories is just because it then makes the bounce back that much more impressive.
I
right?
thought you were going to say to control the flow
Oh,
of misinformation. Because to me, that's also very important.
That is also very important. But we think back towards last year and
Easy
T1 coming
hood.
into that tournament and how difficult their road was getting to it to then win Worlds was truly insane.
Interesting. They were really going to struggle, the world champions, weren't they? Yeah. But you tell me they didn't have smooth sailing this year either. That they had to swap out their AD carry or something ridiculous.
In fact, I may very well say something
I'm not
like
gonna,
that.
I'm not
You're
going to listen to
buy
it.
You're not
No.
gonna listen?
No, swap out Gumiyushi. What are you talking about? That guy's a multiple-time world champion.
Well, for BLG, they made roster changes in the jungle. They had coaching situations, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And they definitely had some inconsistencies in their individual performances, but they were able to find their footing. And right now, it feels like that they are firing on all cylinders. We're jumping into game 3. GAM will have to make the reverse sweep happen. Eris staying in for the roster of GAM. And as we see the bans remaining the same, Kalista, Twisted Fate on the side of GAM. Meanwhile, Nocturne, Gwen on the side of BLG.
Some familiar
Se-OP
faces
apa
on the
Twisted
ban list
Fate
for
ya?
sure.
Patch
I'm
ini
really interested to see
di
if
ban
Fiona
mulu
priority
anjir.
will skyrocket. Sometimes in a series where teams are really dependent upon their support playing those engaged champs, you will see like first pick Leona and things like that in a series that's
How
gone this
OP
way,
is
because
TF
that is the
this
last
patch?
of kind of like the 5 major engaged
Di
supports that
semua
are those primo
match
ones. But there
guys
is
hari ini
obviously
ban
other
TF
options. There's
cok.
things like Renata, there's things like Nico, there's other styles of enchanters that you can play, and there is the Nico, which could be going mid, also could be going down in support.
7
And we'll have to
match,
kind of wait and
7
see.
match itu
I mean,
TF masih
There's
di
also
ban.
the rare situation where he goes top lane.
True.
Now, the response from BLG looks like that they want to
Cincau.
give themselves jungle control early. I liked the Sejuani ban that came through GAM, knowing that we're kind of getting more limited in engaged supports. Removing one of Beishuan's best engaged junglers, I think, makes a ton of sense. But he's just said, you know what, I'm going to play the Zit. And a champion that is just very good at going forward, and it's very easy for teams to follow up on that type of engage. And with the Caitlyn paired up alongside it, I mean, BLG going for a bit more lane dominance this time around.
Yeah, absolutely. Caitlyn, very interesting here. Sometimes people do pair it with CC to try to follow up with the traps. So other times, people are going to go more just heavy for poke. Kate Lux, obviously a famous lane. Back in the day, it was even like Kate Syra and things like that. MF being considered on the other side and will, in fact, get locked in here. So MF going to be
Itu
the answer.
Levi hidungnya
It could
pakai
easily
apa
be
dah?
MF Nico, which is definitely a strong 2v2. You
What
can set
happened
up
to
for that
Bro
Nico
Nose?
with your E. You throw down the E on the MF. You get that slow. That sets up for the Tangle Barbs coming through. You can land that root pretty easily, and it's very annoying 2v2 to play against.
Ooh, the Skarner hover coming through for Levi. A pretty solid engaged jungler, something that dominated the meta for quite a while.
Aduh.
But Jarvan, a lot more cut
Ya,
and dry.
Levi,
EQ engage.
Levi mending jauh
Really
sama
good, just
Enteng
kind of
dah.
locking down once those mobility options have come
Jarvan
through. I
oke
personally
sih.
don't love it into Caitlyn. I'm reminded it was the LTA finals where we actually saw this matchup, no? And I think that it's a
Maksudnya Levi
situation
ya.
where just because of the net, as long as
Levi
you're
harus
reserved
carry
as the kid and you're
timnya.
already
Kalau
playing
dia
range, I
menteng,
think that engage is quite difficult.
timnya
We
nggak
talked
bisa
about the potential
apa-apa.
Lux. Karma is another one that fits the bill to just give you so much lane dominance in the bot lane 2 versus 2. A huge amount of range, a lot of poke, and a lot of control around these neutral objectives. I mean, how many times have we seen the 5 Caitlyn traps you're trying to approach? Then you've also got Karma just throwing mantra Qs at you. It's very difficult if you're second to the objective.
It really is quite difficult, and also the amount of shielding that can come out from a mantra shield when you're looking at the AoE damage over on the other side of bullet time as well as the pop blossom. If you can avoid that engage yourself as on and then have the mantra shields come out, sometimes that buys the time your team needs to survive the initial engage. And then, let's be honest, Nico after the ult is used is not that useful in a team fight. So we'll see if they can actually lock this down as more bans are coming through. Both teams targeting the mid laners for now. So we've got some cosplayers hanging out in the crowd. The Orianna and Ryze going to be getting banned out.
I'm curious as to what direction we go in. Trying to limit this mid lane pool. You talked about how Ares Ryze was something that we've known him play throughout spring, but it's actually Gam that's going to be taking that one away. Thinking about what champions could be good paired up alongside Jarvan, because he is that kind of facilitator, you want something that can provide you with that damage. With things like the Talia gone, potentially they're thinking about something a little bit more aggressive. Maybe even something like a Silas could be a possibility. Maybe even the Hui if they want to go more towards that mage route. With the Akali being banned away, BLG also concerned about that potential assassin that is very good at taking down champions like Caitlyn and can skirmish quite well against things like the Xin.
Tahun kemarin Gam galak mainnya di World.
As well. So now a lot of the most played champions
Galaknya di ini doang sih, pas di pas apa? Pas play-in juga lawan region-regionnya sendiri, lawan Jepang, lawan Brazil, yang apa, yang ranking-rankingnya sekelas dia lah.
I will say, I'm surprised to see an Aurora blind pick, only in the sense that I think that she's a champion that can be quite easily outranged, and the Azia hover, I think, was exactly what I was thinking about, where as in lane, she is such an effective bully. She can offer a huge amount of teamfight value and potential burst, but if you just choose to blind pick it, there are a lot of matchups that can potentially bully it.
Yorick blind to me is like a cardinal sin of League of Legends. Like, I love this champion, I play it a lot, but there are so many matchups that are so unplayable. Even if you don't want to get spicy, like Aurelia is always, to me, the worst possible matchup you can play in, but people don't generally want to play it in competitive. But even if you just want to play something standard, Cho'Gath Ultimate one-shots the Maiden at level 6 and gives you a feast stack. It basically means you can't use your ultimate as Yorick if you don't just want to give over free feast stacks for a lot of levels. You can kind of sustain off the ghouls. It's very, very difficult. Ben may not want to go towards it, but I mean, I know he has played a decent amount of Yorick, so it's interesting to see like where he takes us, because he should know some of these counter matchups.
It's unrealistic, but I have to give a shout out to my good friend and colleague Gulborg, who dies by the Shyvana matchup in this because of how your Q interacts with the ghouls and how you
AoE kills them.
Ranking
resets the Q and stuff. But it's in any case, it looks like we're heading towards Renekton for Bin, one of his
bahkan world power ranking 3 ini berarti.
Pro play. I mean, it is relatively safe on the top side of the map, but it seems that GAM have gone for a
World
little bit more
power
reserved in the mid-lane matchup,
ranking
going for
3
that
suruh lawan ranking 22.
And every time you talk about spicy counter picks in top lane, top laners like, best I can do is Renekton.
You are not wrong.
But it is interesting, you know, Renekton obviously still not bad in this matchup whatsoever. Mainly, you don't want to have a champion that's just going to get locked in the cage. That's the biggest thing you want to avoid, and obviously you can slice and dice out of that. You're not going to be too bad, but that being said, it's a matchup I don't mind on the Yorick side either. You can definitely poke him down and try to take priority in the side lanes, and that is really just so important for Yorick. And I also feel like when you have Yorick in the game, even more important to be able to secure the grubs.
Would you agree that at a certain point it feels like Yorick does just kind of win on the sides?
I think you will if you're ahead, but if you fall behind, you're kind of like never going to win. Exactly. Non-subscribers, we will see you in 30 seconds. But yeah, absolutely, Yorick definitely scales well. Has gotten a couple nerfs though in a row. He's been nerfed, I think, 3 patches now in a row, or at least 3 of the last couple patches, including a base armor nerf this most recent patch, Q damage nerf the patch before. They reworked kind of how some of the ghouls work, so they were kind of like weaker earlier, but if you go with the attack speed build like Triforce, then they kind of scale a little bit better.
Yorick
So they have made a number of changes,
Terus
but it's just interesting because Yorick is very game
Victor ya?
hopping, I feel, for both teams. It's not just about playing around him, but about how you play against him. Because sometimes ganks can be so effective, literally just to kill the maiden. Like if your jungler comes top and you just kill the maiden, well, now all of a sudden you have no pressure for over 2 minutes in the side lane.
Very much agree. Let's see how things pan out in the early game. Ooh, Knight.
Knight is going to get found out, and he is going to get rooted up. We'll see if they can force the flash. He's just going to use the W, levels that up, and now BLG have the extra member. Elio going to have to pop the heal and get them back, but minions have spawned. Both mid laners will have to base very late. Neither of them going to be interrupted again. And nice sidesteps there from the Gam bot lane, but they will eat some of this poke, and they're going to get chased out. This is going to get really rough now for them potentially, as a headshot is even ready.
BLG is looking to split the map once again, and I think it's going to work.
Oh,
no.
Artemis,
Oh, no.
Wait a minute.
I think that was a bit of a misclick there, as he stopped auto attack that. Now he is low. He is still staying around because they don't want to actually give this over.
Test this. I think this is a huge time waster. There's no way you're going to be able to fight for this. He's not going to start on the top side of it. Now he'll start off on his walls, but Beishwan going to get a nice advantage. The bot lane going to be late to lane as well. Elk and On going to be able to do a bit of chip damage.
I mean, Artemis is screwed. Like, look at his health, and he already used his potion, right? You're showing up to lane, having missed all 3 of the melee minions of experience, and look on the other side, Elk got all of that experience. So you're now 3 minions of experience behind. You're down 200, 300 health almost, or whatever, and you have no potion. So if On is on point with his Qs, if he hits those, it is going to be so tough now, I think, for this Gam bot lane, and they're going to try to go back and push Beishwan off, but we saw how this worked last time.
Yes, we did. I mean, I feel like there needs to be some recollection of what happened in game 2. Gam did not prepare for the potential split map. They got punished by the Caitlyn Karma.
They're still level 1. Like, what can you do here?
And the wave is in such an awkward spot as well. Elk managing it perfectly to deny as much farm as possible.
I just don't really get why they're trying to actually contest here, because they're missing experience on the other side. Now you can just get dove, as Bin is just going to look for the solo kill here on Kiaya on the top lane. And meanwhile, Gam's bot lane, it's a level 3 and a level 3 against 2 level 1s here. Gam is in so much trouble. Beishwan chasing after him, grabs first blood as On walks it out. Now they're looking for the redive here. In goes Beishwan. Elk tanks it up. It's a 2-for-0 on the bot side. 3 minutes in. 0 CS for Artemis. 0 CS. Level 1.
0 CS.
1 minion of experience. He's cooked. Disastrous for Gam.
He is cooked,
This is
indeed.
a worst case scenario for any bot lane player. As with 0 farm, 0 experience, all of that gold disappearing to the tower.
I just don't understand why they contested the jungle so hard. Like, you could just play the wave, get level 2, and then probably defend the dive. But
yeah, I mean, the very least attempts to try and thin out the wave as much as possible to make the dive harder. Maybe if you can get the level 2. But Levi, I mean, he's able to clear out the full top side. He's gotten level 4, but now it becomes a question of salvation. I mean, you highlighted it right. The interesting thing as well was because On was working so much with Beishwan,
tidak
you
diberi
highlighted
kesempatan
double
kah?
level 3.
Enggak,
Elk is able
kayaknya.
to set up all these traps. He also
Tapi
has both the
ngepur
E and
sih,
the Q.
BLG-nya
On
segini
manages
ngepur,
the
Bang.
tower aggro, and he does it so
Apalagi
that
kalau main
Beishwan
serius ya.
doesn't end up getting the aggro even after getting the kill.
Damn.
Elk then connects the EQ combo, secures
Udah
the additional
dipur
kills,
ini.
and they get the plate to boot.
I mean, it's just perfect. Even On, if you notice, stepped a slight bit forward to get in range of the
Bin
heal on
masih gak
Beishwan
pakai
before stepping out
Jax.
of that tower range, not having even used his flash. Like, this is all perfectly calculated. You
Terus,
can see they have done it a million times before.
itu aja sih.
And they know
Bin gak pakai
exactly
Jax
how
sih.
to play those limits. And now, Levi, you basically have no choice. You have to go bot and see if you can get a kill there, but you haven't even forced a flash on the other side. So On and Elk are going to be difficult to take down.
Beishwan.
Udah mah ini. Iya sih. Ya udah sih, aku juga pengen tidur. Ditunggu matchnya Gam versus Furia.
Look for the flash, flag, and drag. After Ilio did hit that tangle bars, but because it's not through a minion, does not last as long. And so it gives On the time to just flash right out, and now that is time wasted there. Beishwan's going to be down on the spot side, will catch Levi, and Levi now has no flag. You can see he did spend that spell. Gam's bot lane, again, going to try to help out in the
Menang
jungle.
banget,
Here
mereka
comes
jadi
BLG,
pede gitu loh.
And mid lane Prio is also going the way of BLG. Now they're looking to try to
Betul.
chase after Beishwan. We'll see if they can find and engage.
Yup.
Elio in a lot of trouble, does have to
We
flash
got
out.
flash.
Trying to get some damage down on the Beishwan, but it's Levi now who is in trouble. Levi flag and drag over the wall, Will he be able to survive? He gets trapped up.
Mati.
And he gets hit by the headshot. And another one, 2 to the head. Knock Levi down. It's another kill for Elk, and it is BLG running away with the most one-sided game of the series.
Exquisite execution from Elk. Utilizing the trap over the wall, relying on the roots that comes
gelap.
from the
Ini match 3 mah
to
gelap,
guarantee
guys.
that headshot, connects the E as well
Oh
to
my
get
god,
another
so
headshot.
dark.
Just beautifully done.
Is this
And
DC
this is just
universe?
systematic
Why it's so dark
destruction.
here?
Gam's response to the split map from BLG has been disastrous. And we see Elio, I mean, he's just so squishy. Level 3 gets chunked out immediately. And again, you'll see here, the root still goes through, the trap drops, gets the headshot, connects the E, second
This,
headshot,
yeah.
beautifully done.
I mean, what more can you ask? It's just perfectly played right there, just nailing it. Now Bin level 6 looking for the kill onto Kiaya. Kiaya incredibly low. Bin trying to work his way out of this cage. Kiaya
Kalah loh itu.
forward. Should have mana for a Q, but Bin is about to have his Q. He's
Kalah
gonna
itu.
push forward. The Q heal does come through.
Kalah
The
itu
ulti
Renekton.
from Kiaya trying to finish him off. The Maiden though doesn't quite have the damage, and now Bin's cooldowns are
Wait,
coming back up. He's gonna
oh.
flash in, slice, dice, stun, and he knocks him down with the ruthless
Never mind,
predator.
it's Bin,
That's what
it's Bin.
is.
Yeah,
He
Bin.
is king of the top lane in this
It's
series.
Bin.
Slight overstep from Kiaya is quickly punished. And what was a disastrous bot side of the map is now extending to the top side. Bin finds himself with a 650 gold lead. And things are falling
Suren lah
apart
ya.
everywhere as
Sama
BLG
kayak apa?
find themselves with a 3k gold lead only 7 minutes in.
ADC-nya Carmen Corp tuh yang AFK gara-gara
But the
kesel.
goal difference is a nice summary for Azazel. It is not looking good.
It's tough.
Now the swap will come through from BLG. The grubs are spawning in about 40 seconds, and BLG do not want to ease up on the pressure. They will not go easy on Gam. Gam has put up a decent fight in the first 2 games, but here in Game 3, BLG have shown zero remorse. The Caitlyn's 3-0-1, a 1.3k gold lead already.
I mean, you just look at the itemization, and it is so sad when you're in these kind of situations where it's just like, what can you do? You can't compete. Like, there's no winning situation from that spot.
This is their
And,
channel. I was
this
only
is the
aware of
BLG
2.
jungler timeline.
Wait,
A
how
lot of
do you
questions about
even
H1,
found
you know, coming into MSI? Of course, he's going
the
to have
other
to answer
one?
more than just a win against Gam, but he has been good, very good, I would say, in this series, as Kiaya having no fun whatsoever. Another trap.
ADC
lands as the
AFK
CC
tuh
just
yang
feels endless.
LEC
Gonna get chunked down incredibly
semifinal.
low. And we can see Beishwan up on that top side. You
Carmen
he has
Corp
filled, to
AFK
me, more of
ADC-nya.
like the Shun role
Rage
than the
quit
Wei role.
ini.
You know, he has been kind of more that facilitative jungler playing for the lanes. And has been quite good at it. You know, helped the team to get here. And Artemis now in trouble. Gonna have to flash out.
Revealed to me on
Almost
Dream.
gets knocked down there
That's
by
wild.
Knight. They try to move the MF mid lane, try to find somewhere where he could safely farm. Nothing doing.
Yeah, I feel like the Beishwan has fit into the mold that BLG needs, and this game is a great example of that. He's played towards the lanes very well, and this is very reminiscent of the BLG that we saw last year, that very bot-centric BLG, really good at setting up their bot lane for success. When you give them that gold lead, they utilize it incredibly well. You just leave Knight to play his lane and he will find advantages, and Gam is just on damage control. Their lane assignments are kind of all over the place as they try and match BLG where they can, but BLG are even punishing that. Finding the flash in the mid lane onto Artemis, the fact that top lane continues to be bullied, it only goes from worse to worse.
Yeah, it is very, very tough now for Gam, and if Kiaya falls too far behind, York doesn't really have a fallback plan, right? Like, whether you're winning or whether you're losing, you're kind of running down a side lane. Like, that's kind of what the champion does, how it functions. Eris in the side lane now might get some bad news. Has been posturing very aggressively. Is someone behind him? Yes, of course. Knight is there. The BLG soul laners looking to group up, and Eris knows
Gelap
he is dead, so he's
banget,
just gonna
anjir.
knock down
It's
the
so
wave,
dark.
accept his fate. Knight is on the board in game
Nah
3.
iya
Nice
Kalis.
little window that Knight was able to
Kalis
find
rage
to
quit
roam towards the bot side of the map.
gara-gara
Pick up a quick kill.
dibantai.
6-0 now the scoreline in favor of BLG.
Dibantai
They continue
Mkoy.
to grow the gold lead. TP back into mid. The timing is just perfect. It's like the pieces are just fitting into the puzzle one by one.
Why so dark?
BLG are
I
not
don't
struggling
see
to find those pieces
I don't see Gam
whatsoever.
winning
We
any
expect the bot lane to swap back towards
like
their respective lane
any
as
match
the dragon
today.
spawns in 55 seconds, and I mean, like, it is just textbook League of Legends. At this
Gam
point when
is
you have
so
this kind of lead.
cooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
it's so
even if
difficult
Gam
to really be
lost,
able
they
to deal
still
with them
have
when
a
you don't have
chance
something viable when
against
your bot lane is so far
Brazil.
behind. you really are looking
next
for some sort
match.
of fallback plan. And it's got to
So,
be playmaking. It's got to be some sort of an outplay in the
even
sidelines,
so,
but
Brazil is pretty
it's going to
strong.
be really, really hard. We'll see if they can find a way in. And we know Gam really has
CFO sih seru parah sih. Aku dukung parah sih. Flying Oyster.
And when Gam was ahead in the last 2 games, they didn't even
Jagoanku
get
tuh
Dragons,
di
so I
MSI
definitely
ini
do
tuh
not expect them to
AL,
start contesting
CFO sama
aren't the strongest when it comes to early
G2.
game objective control. And I mean, the reality of
AL,
their
CFO
situation
sama
is that they are
Z2 sih,
relying on BLG
wah
making
itu
some egregious
pecah sih,
mistakes,
itu
whether
pasti
it be
seru sih.
positioning in the team fights or overextending in side lanes. There's a possibility that with this kind of a lead that BLG get a little overconfident, they go for plays that they shouldn't really be going for, but with the goal lead that they have, they feel that they can make it.
AL
But
mid lane-nya Shanks
as of right
keren
now, it's
juga
been
ya.
flawless play, and BLG are not leaving any of these windows open.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're going to depend on mistakes from BLG, at this point, they're going to have to be some bigger mistakes. They're going to have to, like, sub-Vedius in on Nocturne or something like that, you know?
I mean, their chances would only go up if they did that. I'll tell you that right now.
All right, well, we'll see how their chances are going to be here as they're going to let the bolt time rip, trying to clear out the wave, and he is just
G2
gone.
udah
It's a
menang.
magic trick.
G2
Now you see him,
3-2.
now you don't. Ilio going to get chased down as well. Is still barely alive. The last auto will finish him. As even on grabbing a kill there. That was a fast one.
Yes, it certainly was. That really is the wallet difference that you are seeing. The Sunlit Sky being completed. I mean, at the very least, Artemis got the wave. I guess if you're looking
That's
for
a
bright
dub. We take
sides.
those.
Because, I mean, right now, that's kind of all you can hope for. Trying to find the small semblances of good news in what is...
Oh iya, jungle-nya yang main Z ya. AL gila itu.
Yaya has the maiden back out.
Bahkan Faker tidak segila itu Z-nya, bro. Jungle-nya AL. Apa namanya? Nama playernya? Tarzan. Nah, itu. Bahkan Faker tidak segila itu anjir Z-nya. Gila. Gelap. It's so dark. Just wrap it up. I'm going to sleep. I think I'm going to sleep. There is no way Gam gonna win this.
Playing jungle and you lose control over one side, it gets so difficult. Elk just shoving up this wave now. Beishuan is behind Artemis, and Artemis knows this is going to be tough. Levi is moving down here, but I don't know if he can actually get there in time to really do anything.
Bro, I think I'm going to sleep. Like, I don't see Gam winning this.
The first kill is already there.
Oh my god.
Trying to run. Levi came in, but he couldn't do anything. Now he's going to get trapped up. Kiaya will be able to survive. Loses the maiden, though, in the process, and Eris is going to move down here. They're going to look to try to make a fight happen. It's a triple knockup for Levi. The Chaos Storm comes through. They do get one kill. In comes Elio. They're trying to get another, but they just don't have the damage to knock down Beishuan. He is healing up. He's getting shielded, and he's going to re-engage with the Sundered Sky. Trying to go for more here. He will have to try to kite it out, though. Eris looking here with the laser. Does connect. Gets the shutdown. Gam getting their first kill.
Main. Dua. Yang dapat siapa tuh? Victor.
And I like the proactivity, but PLG's back on the map, and Knight secures himself another kill.
Okay.
That's 3 for
I
him.
guess we have some mercy.
2-12 is the scoreline. And
We
Gam,
still got
I
some
admire that
mercy
they have
here
not given up. They still look for
in
those
Canada.
plays. Levi finds a beautiful engage with Eris in a good position, but as you rightly identified, it's just a matter of gold. They don't quite have the damage. If the gold was a little bit closer, that play would have been massive. But the amount of healing that was coming out from Beishuan was just disgusting.
Nonton langsung push rank lah. Udah
Very
gila.
difficult. You know, when these kind of drain tanky
Aku
bruisers
ini
get ahead, it is so
kehitungnya
hard to
live
go
dari
actually
jam
knock
2
them
ini
down.
berarti.
You know, you're losing on the bot side. You're trying
Di
to
channel
make a
Kuro
play
juga
happen
tadi.
there. And I think it was a pretty good play to look through. As Artemis, of course, will survive that ultimate, but does get pushed back, and this tower is not long
Agak bisa
for the world.
kocek, harus
Top lane tier
turu.
one
Aku sih
low as
pengennya
well.
nggak mau
The bot lane
tidur
tier
ya.
one has
Aku juga
already been
malas
claimed.
tidur.
And that is a lot of plays
Tapi
going
tersakit.
the way of BLG. 1,123 gold, and they are looking like they are 6,000 now ahead. They just crested.
14 and a half minutes in. Gam, I still have confidence that they're going to be looking for plays where they can. The biggest issue that they have is their windows of opportunity to actually make these plays happen, because
Dari
BLG were just
mana
they're suffocating
menangnya?
the vision. They're clearing out what little Gam is able to get. And while there are pockets of vision, as our observers are highlighting for us now,
it only gets harder for them as the game continues because BLG will quickly move deep into their territory. They will force them to have to ward their own side of the map just so they can gain access to the jungle, and that means it becomes that much harder to contest things like this Rift Tower.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, objective bounties have already spawned here 15
Aduh,
minutes
ini
in. That
udah
really
gelap,
does tell the tale.
Dark,
We'll see if they
dark.
can find anything. But it's not looking like it, as the Feats obviously have long since gone over there to BLG. They're going to be able to grab the Rift Herald as well, which could be problematic. Levi going in, as Elk is going to be able to 90 caliber net over the wall. There's the root coming through.
Levi cannot play tank, bro.
That's an easy kill there onto Levi.
Just give
Trying
Levi
to look for an
Z
angle, but
or
Elk doesn't really
something.
have to use much of anything.
The chain CC with this Karma Caitlyn
His team
is
so
just
bad,
brutal. The
so
Jarvan barely getting
bad.
an opportunity to move.
Uh-oh.
Forced to retreat.
Zulian, thank you for joining for 30 months.
Will be tethered. Nice little CCG in there as On is going to take up the tower for Beishuan. Beishuan trying to knock him down. Kiaya flashes to the side, tries to get the heal from the shovel, but it's not enough. Does fall, gets one back at the very least, but they lost the tower at the same time. And now Elio trying to make something happen here with the Pop Blossom. Will he be able to get the kill? Does get the 600 gold shutdown.
Yup.
And now Bin popping the ulti, forces the
No.
flash out there from Elio. Eris has arrived, but so has Knight. BLG want to keep the pressure on.
Now the good news for GAM is it's plays like this that help them get back into the game. The problem is that even though BLG is being hyper aggressive, the gold lead has only gone up for BLG. So even though they get a big shutdown kill onto Beishuan, it really doesn't translate into much as they lose the top tower, the bot tower falls, the mid tower falls, the dragon is spawning in 25 seconds, Beishuan is already
Nontonnya setengah mati nih.
Eris. Okay, Knight
I'm
decided,
half
you know what?
dead.
Has a mage eyes.
Dreg. Knight always has a major eyes.
Where'd he get that?
He's looking to stack that up quick. Right now, it's really been the Elk Beishuan On show.
Mereka dapat atakan ya?
1 and 11
Belum lah.
right now. Oh dear. Eris, I think you might be in danger.
Yeah, Eris is in a lot of trouble. Ilio there trying to peel, does miss on the Tangle Barbs. Is Knight getting the damage down, goes between worlds, and is going to hit him with the 2.
Yo, if we can shut down, if we can shut down Aurora, that will be great.
We'll see if he wants to commit to it. Doesn't look like
Maybe
it.
not,
He just can't
I
close
guess,
the gap
yeah.
to finish anyone off.
BLG still fine with this play though because it leaves the dragon completely exposed. This will put them on soul point. And I mean BLG, I think this is their 11th dragon in a row. Like it's just been soul 3 times back to back,
That's
right?
tough.
And BLG with just nothing but a masterclass in terms of objective control.
Gak ada harapan ini.
Hold on to a 7k gold lead.
Yeah.
And GAM is just fishing for any opportunity where they can. They responded to the aggression on the top side well. They stopped BLG from getting another kill, but that's kind of the best of their options right now, just kind of stopping BLG from getting more. Unfortunately, BLG still finds a way to get something on the map.
Absolutely. I mean, Elk now individually up over 3,000 gold. His call is long since cashed out, and they're going to look for one of these side lane tier 2s. A big prize to take, as Beishuan will just ride this one in for the crash, and that tower is going to be gone for sure. Now it's 8,000 gold in the lead, and he's just going to ride into the next tower as well. Will he go towards mid lane? Sees a lot of GAM members. He's just going to drive for the tier 2 there. Gets that incredibly low, does get knocked back towards the GAM side, and there's some slows coming through from Artemis, but it's just not even going to matter as Levi's going in for Elk. Nice flash out there from Elk, does get him to safety from the flag and drag. Kiaya in the area, has the maiden back once again, and Eris arrives with the teleport. You can see Bin in the bot lane has TP'd in as well as Beishuan trying to look for something here. Beishuan is just going aggressive. Elk knocks down Artemis. Bin is chasing after Eris with Knight. Eris is in a world of
End the game, just end the game. This is hard to watch. Just end the game, BLG. Just end the game.
The world PLG, not afraid of this whatsoever. They're
Just end the game. This is hard to watch.
Safe on the map for GAM.
And they're suffering
As
now.
they just take control over everything. GAM is left wanting
Just end the
Levi
game.
has to witness the destruction of his base. They will leave the inhibitor up. It is still very early into the
warning.
game. Simply as a warning. That is a message being sent to GAM. That BLG
Gila,
will
ada
allow
logo
their inhibitor to
EWC
stay
di
up. They will walk
di
away with the
mapnya
red
cuy.
buff. But my
Sponsornya
goodness,
EWC
Beishuan,
anjir.
yes, he is going in super deep, but he is surviving way longer than he has any right to.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to commit way too much, even if you can kill.
Yeah. I mean, we look back at this fight, and the engage onto Elk is a nice idea. You're forced to flash out from him, but it's at this point where I mean, what do? The TP comes through from one side, Ares is TPing him from another. They're being collapsed on two sides, and then Baytron says, I'll make the decision for you. I will engage onto your AD carry. He gets shut down by Elk. Baytron says, no, I'm not going out, I'm going back in. Look at the healing that comes through from the Sundered Sky and the passive healing that he gets. And it just turns into pick after pick after pick. BLG just picking apart Gam.
Ini gak jelas sih damage-nya.
Even if you find a good play at this point, no play looks like a good play when you're down 8,000 gold this early, and now it's nearly 11,000 gold as one combo, two basic
Aurora mau rilis di Wild Trip bete guys. Aduh,
Aduh,
toxic banget dah. Kenapa gak Azir aja sih?
An objective bounty, but it is getting incredibly low. As Ilio gonna go in, finds a multi-man engage into the back line goes Levi. There's the ulti coming down. The bullet
Siapa yang dapat?
get the kill onto Elf. Artemis trying to get the damage rolling, but it's Knight now
Masih
going
Injal.
forward, looking for Artemis. Gets the 2-volt hex and knocks him down. It's been meanwhile kills another one. We've seen this one before. Ares is going to run for the hills, as is Elio, but On is chasing him, trying to juke with the clone. It just doesn't even matter. BLG winning another fight.
It looked quite
End the
promising for
game.
Gam. I
End
thought that
the
there was actually an
game.
opportunity for them to go even in the fight, but unfortunately, again, it's simply a matter of
Calon
finances.
champion
They
Wild
don't
Trip
quite
tuh,
have the
Aurora.
resources. Knight is still so destructive in the backside as well, with 24 stacks on the Medjais. We look back at this play and it's BLG just starting off the Apakah. They are not afraid of anything. A nice engage comes through from Elio and they shut down the
Tapi
Elf
apalagi
almost
yang bisa
immediately. And that's when
dilakukan
you
ya?
think,
Ada
oh, this
Semis
actually looks
Fortune.
quite promising. Baseline then takes a lot of damage himself. But the AoE
Literally,
ultimate that comes through from Knight is huge.
harus di-carry.
Bin on the front line soaks up a huge amount of damage. And then in combination with Knight and Bin,
Killed two
along
of
with the
the
support
police
from On,
though. Nice.
it's just a very one-sided fight in favor of BLG.
Yeah, he's looking happy now. He can sense it. They
Halo,
are getting
Tako.
incredibly close to closing this series out, to sweeping Gam down to the lower bracket. Of course,
Gila,
in the
ngantuk
play-in
banget.
stage here, it is 2 wins and you move on, 2 losses and you are out. So neither team would move on or be eliminated from this one. But of course, BLG with an incredible start.
And that's important to note, just because that it's not all doom and gloom for Gam. They will have an opportunity to play up against Furia, which I'm expecting to be a very interesting matchup, especially with what Furia showed us today. And Gam showing us some great moments in this series against BLG.
Iya, ini lagi ada.
Right now, though,
Buset.
Okay, there's stack number 25.
Stack meja 25. Iyalah sakit anjir.
There was someone playing that character.
Yes, that was. I mean, it was on the support.
Meja
but my
25
goodness.
stack guys. What the fuck is that?
Between the worlds, looking for Artemis. The barrier almost gets one shot.
25 stack on Mejai. Yo, Miss Fortune got shut down though.
Get anything more. Knight feeling himself wanted to just one shot him under the tower in front
Little
of his
by
team.
little.
Couldn't make it happen.
That was way too cocky for
As
my
if the enemy doesn't have like
my goodness, and I think the downside
5
for him is
billion
we're gonna get a
turret
Mastercard
behind
twice this
them.
moment of the game. We're going to see the one shot again, and we're also going to see his
and we're
overextension.
losing inner
Good news
turret
for Gam
again.
is, hey, they'll get a bit of gold back, but it's still an 11k gold difference between the two teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a mountain to climb for them. And it is now Soul added in there, as it is an Infernal Soul. So maybe that's what he needed. You just blame the jungler for not getting the Soul earlier.
You're quite right.
Otherwise, he would have been able to get this kill. So we can watch this one more time.
Bro,
That
ngantuk
is,
banget
of
bro.
course, Elio, not
Just end the
Ares.
game please.
But that is 2 basic abilities and a dead Nico.
Yeah, that was Thor cosplay. That was a lot of lightning coming down from the skies. Beishwan to clear out some vision. Baron is not alive yet. So BLG are just going to have to chill until that objective spawns, but you can imagine that they will just kick that one off immediately.
It's grim as Baron spawning into a game like this. You don't have a very long lifespan.
It's quite true. Baron excited to witness the rift. Beautiful spirit blossom. And it will not be long for this world.
No, and Kiaya might not be
bukan
as
Dota.
well, as he loses almost all of his health there. As the ace in the hole going to get blocked by Ares and Ilio, excuse me, as he is always cosplaying there.
Beishwan,
Yeah.
you need to chill out. Baron is still 35 seconds away. If BLG make a mistake here, I mean...
They might only be 10k down if they make a mistake here.
That's quite right.
Infernal
I mean, the
Soul.
worst case scenario for BLG is 2 members die, Gam have 5 members, and then they can contest the Baron. But even in 3 versus 5, I feel like BLG could still win.
Yeah, it's
So-
definitely scary. Oh, and look at Knight. He's sitting on that blast cone. If he finds an angle, we know he wants to go for it.
I mean, it's got to fill the pages of the book back up.
He's got stories to tell, that one's for sure, as Levi going to get knocked out of his flag and drag, already down nearly 3 levels, as there is going to be an engage carrier coming through. Kiaya trying to find some sort of an angle, but there's no angle to be had. He's just going to be going back to the Fountain Knight, though. Does
Di one shot lagi sama Aurora kah?
but they can't finish him off.
Oh, tapi dapat tuh.
Eris, though,
Victor.
does finally get the kill. Base one on the other side with
Victor got the
Big
kill.
and they're in the base.
Come on,
They're
come on,
killing
come on.
everybody. Eris is going to have to try to
Never
find
mind.
run. He's the last surviving member.
He can kill it
Battle
though,
here against
maybe.
On, but On is too strong. Mantra tether healing
Yes,
up,
yes, he can.
setting him up for Bin
Okay,
to
that
knock
shield
him
is
down.
pretty bullshit.
BLG marching on the Nexus.
Yeah,
Again,
tidur.
they worked for it in the first couple games, but
Finally,
they
I can
no
sleep.
doubt about it in
Well,
this
fuck
third
you,
one.
BLG.
Came out with a vengeance. 25 minutes in, 15k gold up. BLG will sweep the series.
Oke guys, terima kasih sudah menonton. Aku mau tidur.
A convincing game to
Bye.
round the series out. BLG looking dominant in this best of 5. They will be going up against